don't know what you want, sweetie. Kind of hurts a little bit. Quality.
I'll take my phone off of the thing.
Oh yes, Allison, is your Audacity recording your blue microphone?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just to be double sure, because it's a
I know.
new,
I
new
double
system.
checked it before. I know. I tested it before the podcast. So
Okay, all good. Want to do 45?
Sure.
Yeah. Wow, that last
That's
one
a pretty
was
good second clap.
Yeah, which is surprising given how much latency we have.
Mine was perfectly 5 seconds looking at the timeline.
Mine was not perfect, but it's good enough.
Hell yeah.
Mocha was not pleased with me clapping.
The clap.
Over her. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, you know, don't use protection. You get what you get.
No.
Hello and welcome to episode 150 of the Gaming Fyx podcast on December 5th, 2020. We're almost out of this hell year. I'm your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite Game Awards show host. I am joined today by Allison.
Hi. People need to be nice to Brie Larson, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the only correct answer so far. Pat.
Now, you know I love Brie Larson and everything she's done for the gaming community, but my favorite's got to be Stephen A. Smith. Come on.
I don't know who he is.
He's ESPN commentator, sports commentator.
He's
it's a sports thing. Okay, I don't know.
He's also just delightful and hilarious.
He's a character.
Yes.
And famous for the butt.
Famous for the butt. Nice.
Yep.
He also has said some cool stuff like, you know, it's bullshit. I believe he was like talking about it's bullshit for athletes to get suspended for marijuana use and like general like support for, I want to say general support for like Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. So yeah, he's a pretty cool guy.
Speaking of famous for the butt, Alex is with us today.
I really wish they would get John Carpenter as a host.
Me too.
I think that would be a perfect host for that show. Or Raffi.
Yes.
I would like Raffi to host everything. I don't think Raffi would be a particularly relevant host. Stephen A. Smith did do an advertisement for Miles Morales. So Stephen A. Smith did appear in a video.
Really? Right. Okay.
Yes. It's a very surreal and strange ad. You should look it up.
Yeah, okay.
It's more for Miles as a character than for the game, but it is for the game.
Also joining us, Sam.
Tom Holland as the representative of British men everywhere is giving away a game award. So I feel finally that white British men are represented in the gaming community.
Yeah, I'm really glad they got Tom Holland.
It's been too long.
Like that, with him being in the new Spider-Man remaster and all. So
yes,
I hope he makes a joke about that. Because I feel like I saw him tweeting about it.
I feel like they can very, very much not make. I guess he could make that joke, but I feel like Sony would very much like him to not.
Did you see that he couldn't get a PS5? He's filming Spider-Man 3, and he's playing video games in his trailer, and he's just got the Spider-Man PS4.
He's also Nathan Drake, and he can't get like.
That's true.
Well, to be fair, they're like hedging their bets because Spider-Man 3 has always, not been the best number for Spider-Man.
Yeah,
but now they're actually going to have 3
they're like
Spider-Man.
hedging their bets. Yeah.
Yeah,
Spider-Man
literally.
2, too many Spider-Man.
Yep.
They should call it Spider-Man 3.
Actually, they shouldn't call it Spider-Man 3.
Spiders Man,
just call it,
please.
They should call it Spiders Men, like aliens to alien. No number on it, and then they'll get away from the curse.
Okay.
And it's
they don't put numbers on them anyway, do they? So
I know.
But they should have it with aliens, so there's just necromorphs.
They kind of did that already, but sure.
With alien? Well, in like the Avengers, but
I mean, there's aliens.
Spider-Man was in those.
Well, that's kind of like Venom.
Venom's an alien, yeah.
Yeah.
he's necromorph.
Like, he's not really a necromorph, but like, has that kind of like creepy.
Or sorry, xenomorph.
gross alien.
Xenomorph is what
Yeah,
necromorph
is Dead Space.
Is Dead Space, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's too early for me to differentiate alien names.
Morphs.
Actually,
yeah.
Just saying
Animorphs. You got your
Funnily
xenomorphs.
enough, necromorphs
Animorphs,
are symbiotes.
oh my god.
The
They're
symbiote
symbiotes.
is closer to a necromorph than it is a xenomorph. So you were kind of on the money with the whole Venom Carnage thing. Anyway, sorry, Sam.
Yeah.
Guys,
You're
you
right.
keep pronouncing Venom wrong because obviously Eminem taught us how to do it, and it's Venom.
Oh,
You have to say it very
No.
quickly and then say the M like 8 times.
no. Venom.
No, I'm not doing
You just
anything.
have to say it about like Michelle Williams in Venom and say, I'm sorry about Venom.
Eminem should recreate that Eminem commercial for Christmas where they're like, "Oh, Santa Claus," and then they see Santa Claus, and then they're like, "Oh my God, he exists," and then they pass out, and then Santa Claus is like, "Oh my God, they do exist," and then he passes out. Yeah, they should recreate that with Eminem.
When you said, "Oh, Santa Claus," that just reminds me of that Lord of the Ring video, the edit of the ending, where Frodo's in bed and like it's all slow motion. He's like, "Oh, Aragorn," and all that. I don't know if you've seen that edit. It's so good.
You know what else is good?
It's hilarious.
Video games.
Oh yeah, right. We've done 150 of these, huh?
Yeah, good video
50,
games.
yeah. Wow, that's like half a century or something.
It's 1.5.
Yeah, you got there.
You're right. No, Sam got me. Being in Greenwich Mean Time, he is the time expert, and it is a century and a half.
Yep. It's like half a century or something, indeed.
Yeah, we were just talking about Tom Holland and Spider-Man. So Sam, how about you tell us about Miles Morales, who is not Spider-Man? I guess he's Spider-Man.
He's Spider-Man.
Tom Holland.
Yeah.
He's not Tom Holland.
I
He's
really
Spider-Man.
like that they specifically call out in the subtitles. They call him Spider-Man in the subtitles. They don't call him Miles, which I was like, this is good.
Yes.
And when him and Peter talking, both the subtitles say Spider-Man.
I like that.
But is Peter just Peter at that point, or is he Spider-Man at that point? Because I thought he was on vacation.
There's a
or
scene
something.
with them both as Spider-Man, and the subtitles say Spider-Man for both. But I think Pete's blue and he's red. Like
they color.
Where it's the Spider-Man.
The opening of that game is super cool because it's
awesome.
It's them being Spider-Man, both of them together.
Oh god, I need to buy this soon.
It's fucking awesome. The beginning
That's
of
so
that
rad.
game fucking rocks.
So you know how like the very, very beginning, Miles meets up with Peter and Peter's...
No, I don't.
At the very, very beginning of the game, Miles meets up with Peter and Peter is hanging upside down while drinking a coffee. Upside down, like he's holding the cup, like...
Yes,
like this, basically.
Okay.
Just sipping from it.
Just
and it's
burning,
very cool.
Burning
Yes.
the roof of his mouth.
I believe they joke about that.
Okay.
Miles is like, how do you do that without burning your
healing
mouth?
Factor.
And Peter's like, very carefully, or I don't remember, but
yeah. Miles says, how on earth are you drinking that coffee? And Peter goes, carefully.
yes.
I mean, he heals fast. Whatever. He get a little
He also
cardboard
gets
mouth for a
thrown.
bit.
He also gets thrown like several blocks by Rhino and slams into a building and is fine. So I think he can handle some hot coffee.
Okay, so isn't Spider-Man technically like the most powerful being in the Marvel universe? Like he pulls his punches so not just to make people
Not
explode.
Squirrel Girl, excuse you.
Yeah, they do that stuff where they're like, right now we're going to justify why this character is the most powerful being in the universe. And then 10 years later, it's like, Actually, it was this character.
We have a character who is literally a god.
Yes, so many characters that are.
I mean, it was gods. Squirrel Girl. Let's be honest. I mean, she's like.
Well, yeah, Squirrel Girl killed like everybody, right?
She's killed everybody, and they very much. They're like, no, it was legitimately that person, and they say that like in her comics.
You know who Squirrel Girl killed? Galactus.
Yeah,
and that's why we're going to talk about Fortnite. No, Spider-Man. What's up?
Just for reference, Spider-Man can lift 10 tons. That is the proportionate strength of a spider. If you're talking about how strong he is.
Yeah.
So if you're curious,
what spider? Like, there's a lot of spiders.
I think it's just a rough average across like spiders.
Right. It's not like a huntsman or a wolf spider.
Camel.
Well, it's a pretty small spider that bites him. It's smaller than his hand,
but it's genetically modified.
Yeah,
it's like a magic spider, or like
it's a GMO
active.
Yeah, GMO spiders.
It's Monsanto spiders.
Yep.
Yeah.
Monsanto oh no,
Spider-Man.
So I
Poor
saw
Sam.
I saw a video this week.
Spider-Monsanto.
Awesome. I don't think it's what people think it is, but it's still cool. But there was a video of this like guy who cleaned a wolf spider's feet. Like the wolf spider got itself like stuck in like dust and cobwebs on the ground. It was a big wolf spider. It was like, you know, the size of a $50 or something. Yeah. Or dollar coin.
Could fit on the palm of your hand pretty.
It could fit in the palm of your hand, but it was big enough to fill your hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this wolf spider, like he like started cleaning its feet with a little X-Acto knife and tweezers, and the wolf spider started like holding its foot up to him to clean it. And training its feet.
Yeah, it started like freaking out, but then after he did it once, the wolf spider would just hold the leg out and not move it until the guy was finished. It was great.
I think it was not as. It's one of those instances where the instincts of the spider, it was just trying to not get crushed and die, and
I don't know.
Was like, I don't know that I believe that the spider was smart enough to understand that there was a human helping it.
I think spiders are pretty smart, but anyways,
not that smart.
How smart is Miles Morales?
Somewhat. He's actually super. They play him as like super nerdy. They kind of play him like a young Peter. Miles reminds me a lot of the MCU Peter Parker, kind of. He's not the coolest kid in town. He's super nerdy and like just trying to think of like a good way to describe him. He's like a cool nerd. I think that's probably the best way to say it. Like he's just a cool, like a nerd who people like.
So,
but he has like
fictional.
So boom. So he's like Henry Cavill.
Yeah, there you go. He's Henry Cavill, but way less built.
He's not a himbo.
How's his butt?
It's very flat.
Yeah. I think Pete is a bit juicier than Miles.
100%, yes.
Wow. Pete's a lot more muscular as well.
Yeah, I mean, Pete's also like 15 years older than him or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, because Pete's like 23, so.
Okay, like 6 years older than him.
Yeah. I like so there's a lot of really good stuff in Miles about like him learning not to do stuff. Like there's a scene where he crawls outside of his apartment building without his costume on to just like flip the fuse because their lights go out. And he's like, oh, this was a terrible idea. Why did I do this? I'm completely exposed.
Yeah.
Well, just without the suit, he's just completely nude. And it's like a little weird, man.
Right. But okay, so how soon after having been bitten is this? Like, is he still in the process of getting used to the change?
It's a year. So it's set a year after the original Spider-Man because Pete's they when they reference the events of the original, they say last year. So it's a certain number of months, and it was like summertime in Spider-Man, and it's Christmas in Miles Morales. Right. So it's at least a year, I think. Yeah. like Pete's very clearly been training him this whole time, and they've been going out and doing stuff together. But Miles has like his makeshift Spider-Man costume that's like a really nice nod to Spider-Verse in the first few scenes, where he's basically wearing like streetwear and a Spider-Man mask. Cool. Yeah, so it's really funny because they said like they developed Miles without having seen Spider-Verse, because it came out when they were mostly all the way done with the creation of that character. So their Miles does hew a lot closer to comics Miles than the Spider-Verse Miles. Although funnily enough, because Spider-Verse is so big, the comics Miles is now a lot more like Spider-Verse Miles. But yeah, the thing that's the best about it is like getting a different view of New York. Miles is properly a neighborhood Spider-Man. Like 90% of the quests are related to Harlem, which is where he's moved in Miles. So he does live in Brooklyn like he does in the comics in the original Spider-Man, but they moved to Harlem. I think it's a really smart, really short, really fun short story. I do think it's a better game than the original because of there's no padding. Like, it doesn't feel padded out at all. Like, all the side stories and the side content kind of help build that relationship between you and the city, which is very funny because you get the same ending no matter what you do, and the characters that you like help in the side quests are in the ending. I won't spoil anything for anyone, but I think it'd be very funny to just mainline that game and be like, who the hell are these people? Because they clearly expect, because it's such a short game, for you to play everything.
Yeah.
I think the new combat stuff is really good. Being able to turn invisible completely changes the stealth up, as you might expect. And it makes there's like a thing you can get on the ability tree which turns you invisible instead of getting spotted. So if someone spots you, Miles will instinctively turn invisible, which is really cool. And it means that like you don't instant fail stealth challenges, which is really, really nice. Especially like if you remember like old Assassin's Creed and stuff, where like you get spotted and you're like, oh cool, I have to redo this whole section. Or if you get spotted in Spider-Man, what usually happens is they call in reinforcements. So you might be like, oh, I've got one guy left to take out or whatever, and he accidentally spots you, and then 6 more dudes run into the room and you have to fight these 6 dudes, and that was always really annoying. So getting around that with the camouflage is great. And the new Venom abilities are really cool, and they also add to traversal, which you'd be like, an electric punch, how's that going to work? But like he can charge it and dash. So it adds another move to the swinging arsenal that makes Miles super fast and fun to swing around as. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much because I'm the only person who's played it. The only person who's finished it. I know Pat's played a bit. And I genuinely think it's probably one of the best looking games I've ever seen. So it's worth your time.
Cool.
Definitely. The loading times on PS5 are insane.
I would play it if I could get my hands on a PS5, but I've been shut out of like 5 different lotteries at this point. God damn it, Japan, just give me a PS5. Just give it to me.
The state of 2020 and trying to find new electronics or computer components.
I got a GPU.
Yep.
I got a 3070. I can't get a PS5.
They're getting easier and easier to get hold of in the UK,
not here.
We got a new shipment of stock this week, and like a load of people I saw got one, and a load of people I know got one on launch day as well. Like bought one when they came on sale on launch day.
There, like I saw apparently Rakuten, which is like Japanese Amazon, got. Like they keep putting them up like once a week, maybe twice a week, depending. But they put up like 10 at a time, and they're like one of the biggest retailers in the country, and they just put them up. They don't do like a lottery like all the other like stores. They're just like, oh, here you go, So like 10 at a time, really. So yeah, my hopes of getting one this year are slim to none, it seems.
Yeah, like I was saying, I won't talk too much about it. I've already talked 10 minutes monologuing about how much I think it's great. I just would say I'd super recommend it. I do think it's super overpriced for how much there is to do in that game.
It definitely. I bought this whatever $70 one that has the base remaster in it, and while I think $20 is a little much to pay for that, when I bought that game for whatever 90 or whatever I bought the
you bought the season pass and
yeah. So I think it's kind of ridiculous that I had to pay for it again at all, but the fact that it comes with it makes it at least feel like I paid like 35 to 40 for the remaster, and it's like 30 to 35 for Miles, which feels more appropriate pricing wise for what Miles is in terms of its size, because it definitely I think it's better for it that it's a little shorter. I think they should put out these games. I don't actually need another huge one. I could be totally happy with more short ones for 30 to $40, but 50 is certainly is kind of
just make it episodic.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But
I think it would be better priced as like a $40 game with $30 for Spider-Man Remastered. That kind of makes sense for me. To give you like an idea, I did everything in the base game the first time around. So like I completed every challenge. I maxed out. I did all the crimes. I maxed out every area. I 100%ed the game, and that took 16 hours. Like literally everything you could possibly do, apart from New Game Plus, took 16 hours, and New Game Plus took me about 3.5 hours.
Honestly,
that's kind of what playing the story and skipping all cutscenes.
That's kind of what I want from an open world game. Like, there's two ends of the open world spectrum, and that's certainly one of the ones that I am interested in. For that kind of game, I think
I missed the length of the original Spider-Man. I got to say, I think that 25-ish hour campaign.
That's good. That's a good length.
You could have taken some bits out. Like, we did not need those Mary Jane stealth missions, or the puzzles where you had to match lines.
I really love Mary Jane in that game, but
absolutely.
At the same time, it was rough.
I think those missions could have been ones that I think there could have been better ways gameplay wise to handle some of that stuff, while still giving her more screen time.
That's the thing. That's the thing that makes me want to go. I don't know. It's because I like that she had some screen time, and that there are certain points where you do play as her. Just because I find her really appealing in that game.
I think that might be my favorite iteration of Mary Jane outside of the comics.
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
I preferred this version to the comics Mary Jane. That's just
she's maybe my favorite Mary Jane. I really like her, and I want more screen time for her. But then also I'm that those were not the best ways to.
I feel like they should make the Mary Jane levels adventure game style, where you're going and tracking down sources, and you're on the street level in the city, taking the subway around. I think that would be super cool.
I think the mission in Grand Central is also really good, where she's captive and you're swinging around the building and Spider-Man stuff. That reminded me of the PS2 Spider-Man game, not Spider-Man
the communication
2,
between the two of you and stuff.
That was fun.
What if the Spider-Man parts where you're playing as Peter are as they are, but then when you get down to playing Mary Jane, it's kind of like playing LA Noire?
Yeah, that's what
she has a gun. Yes, give her a gun. You have to go into warehouses and get into shootouts.
You can just doubt
and a rocket launcher, or what is it? No, a flamethrower.
She cheats on Peter with a prostitute, and then goes in the sewers and gets into a Vietnam style flashback situation with a flamethrower. Yes,
that's a flamethrower.
What games do you play a journalist in? There's the new Donut game. You play a journalist, but what other games do you play journalist in?
Bug Snacks.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
I need before we
in the
transition,
Condemned games. Aren't you a journalist in the Condemned?
Oh,
No,
you're a cop.
There's a game where you play a journalist that's like Condemned,
is
and my
really
brain
good.
is going.
They should
insane.
remaster Condemned. Anyway,
Should they?
You don't need to just buy an Xbox Series X. You can play it right there.
I could play it right now on my Xbox One X. I need to say before we move on to something else, when I woke up and I was catching up on our chat messages, and Andre said, apparently there's another Don't Nod game out, and then Sam said ? And then Andre said, you're an investigative journalist, I guess. I thought that was a like, I don't know, you're an investigative journalist, you figure it out. And I was like, wow, that's an oddly hostile.
It's like, wow, that's kind of off. That's kind
literally,
of mean.
you the main character is an investigative journalist.
I had to reread it 4 times to understand that that's what he
It wasn't just you being like very, very hostile
Sam,
and be
you're
like,
an
well, be an
investigative
investigative journalist.
No shit, Sherlock.
Okay, I thought of one more. I thought of one
Outlast,
more.
you play as a
Yeah,
journalist.
I was gonna say Outlast was a journalist game.
Okay.
And Alone in the Dark, the new Nightmare.
Yes, everyone's point of reference for
Yeah, I don't know.
games
I don't know, I haven't
journalism
played
and
that.
journalism
Pokemon
in
Snap.
games. I don't think that counts
That's
in Pokemon
not a
Snap.
journalist. You're
A photojournalist.
you're a research assistant.
Yeah. Like with every Pokemon game, your main job is research assistant.
Speaking
Fortnite,
Speaking of research,
Marvel,
Fortnite.
Galactus. He ate Fortnite or something.
Yeah, the event was trash to play, but I think it was probably pretty fun to watch. I would recommend finding a streamer or group of streamers that you enjoy watching them. Like Abby did one, played it, and my friend Theo said that he thought it was quite funny. It wasn't fun to play at all. It was basically so it was
Fortnite.
Ooh, hot takes.
damn.
The like R-Type style section in Nier Automata. Imagine that, but with like no skill or nuance on rails.
So Nier Automata. Boom.
Did anyone ever play? There was a Star Wars game called like Rebel Assault, I think. I want to
played Rebel
say.
Assault.
Yeah.
When you fly the Millennium Falcon
Yes.
in through
the
all
Death
the
Star?
ducts and stuff.
Yes.
That was basically it. You're flying up Galactus's arm
I
inside
thought you
his
were going to
armor
say either
plates.
up his nose or up his butt, and I was going to be far more excited for either of those possibilities.
Oh man.
You're flying a battle bus up Galactus's arm, and the battle
can't-
bus has a gun.
I
and
can't
you're
imagine
shooting drones.
the battle bus cannot go very fast, can it?
Iron Man's retrofitted it.
Wait. Oh,
God, fucking course Iron Man retrofitted the battle bus. I hate this, by the way.
And that's Fortnite. And now
And-
we're gonna
and then-
move on to.
And then Kratos shows up.
The Kratos cutscene's quite good. It's got man cake in it.
Man,
Pancake is
is that
living
what they
stack
put
of
in
pancakes.
urinals? Is that?
He's a living stack of pancakes that has a gun.
What?
is this from a comic?
No,
No, it's a Fortnite
just
character.
A Fortnite character.
Oh, okay.
There's very good.
I
there's very
honestly
good
had no
food
idea either.
characters.
90% of Fortnite characters are just sentient food.
That's not. Unfortunately, it's only like 10% of Fortnite characters because, and I say unfortunately because they're the best ones. There's that, and then the horny cat, the muscle cat. That's a good skin also.
Meowskiller Chef.
I don't. Maybe
He's
I
not
don't
horny. He's just muscular. He's very patient.
Meowskiller.
He's horny in the movie, apparently.
There's
Hey.
a movie.
Who isn't?
No,
What movie of
the
Monster
the
Hunter?
Monster Hunter,
Mila Jovovich.
Oh, sorry.
not a Fortnite movie.
Yeah, no, the Fortnite.
there will be.
character, the muscular.
I'm playing as the Mandalorian right now in Fortnite.
Yeah,
I have a
mean,
Baby Yoda
that-
emote.
That
Whatever,
game has just become like what Disney Infinity was trying to be in at some point.
I hate this. I want to get this out of the way ahead of time. I hate that I'm about to make this reference and then I'm about to suggest what this is. That game is just the Oasis from Ready Player One. Clearly Tim Sweeney read that book and was like, I want to make this but real. and that's now what Fortnite is.
That's mean to Fortnite.
I think Tim Sweeney said
with you.
I want to make a lot of money.
Well, of course.
And
I'm persecuted and I should make money.
Give me a lot of money to put your shit in my game.
No, of course, but I think like there are people on that staff that are like, hey, we could really make the Oasis a reality. I bet you in 5 years there will be teachers when we're still in pandemic hell and quarantined because the vaccines failed. There will be teachers teaching classes in Fortnite.
Apparently, there's teachers teaching classes in Fortnite already. Just so you're aware.
There you go.
Yeah, there are
there was
ones in
reports.
Animal Crossing too.
There was reports on BBC News about
Animal Crossing
a guy who loves Fortnite, and he was like, "Okay, kids, we're going to party up, and I'm going to talk to you about history while we play Fortnite."
To be honest, it's probably more effective than trying to get kids to sit on a Zoom call and watch.
Honestly, I mean, like keeps kids engaged, and then it's like, so FYI, I don't know how you. I'm trying to figure out how you could connect history to Fortnite, but.
Well, you see,
unfortunately, you just can't.
MLK was a lot like Tim Sweeney.
Oh God.
Anyways, is the
Galactus
Galactus
is
so
what?
Wingspan on the back of the battle bus.
No. Fuck. Also, fuck Epic and Fortnite and Tim Sweeney.
I thought you were gonna say fuck
Right in the
Rosa
battle
Parks.
bus.
I was like,
no, Rosa Parks is the best. But
really.
okay, so apart from playing Fortnite, Galactus being bad, what was cool about it?
It was really cool to watch and to be part of it, and like 15 million people took part. It broke Twitch. It's the most concurrent players they've ever had.
They've done the smart thing, which is as that game started to stop rocketing up the charts, that's when they really turned the lever on licensed stuff. So they're going to keep rolling. I bet you like there'll be a one more battle pass after Mandalorian without licensed stuff, and then they're going to roll back into licensed stuff.
What kind of licensed stuff do you expect next, or would you want next? I guess
Roblox.
No. Yeah, I mean it's
PUBG.
expect
They've
or
had
want,
the
right?
biggest license in the world, so
I mean they've had the two biggest licenses in the world at this point quite
Star
extensively.
Wars.
I
Harry
feel like
Potter.
you pick something beloved. Harry Potter probably.
I bet they'll do a
or
Harry Potter thing at some point, and it'll be totally toned
Can you
deaf.
imagine seeing Ron Weasley with an AK just like dropping out of a plane?
Now we're
Yes,
talking.
yes, I could
That's
see
Harry Potter
that.
I can get behind.
For obvious reasons, I'm not necessarily like, oh, let's give Harry Potter more money, but I kind of want to see that.
I just
Like,
want the Maya Mortal version of Harry Potter.
Oh
in
yes,
Fortnite.
please.
Okay, what I want the Pride and Prejudice cast.
Just
That would
the
be
Jane
sick.
Austen.
God.
Would be
Yeah, just a Jane Austen
season.
universe.
I would put money into Fortnite if that was a reality.
I bet
Yeah,
they get Nintendo eventually. They do a Nintendo.
I think they get Nintendo at the Game Awards this year.
Maybe. I could see it.
Imagine
But they would only be able to do like it'd be like Nintendo exclusive stuff. They wouldn't do that across consoles.
I
Nintendo
don't
wouldn't
know.
let them.
I don't know.
I reckon they get Link and Master Chief at
And
the Game
you'll-
Awards, and they're like,
Maybe you'll be
all
able to
the
play
developers
those
are
on
friends.
Nintendo. No, I don't.
I wouldn't be surprised if you could
Because you
only
can buy
play
Kratos
them.
on Xbox.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Fortnite is getting to the big enough point where
That's weird.
it's there. I mean, there are Nintendo mobile games, right? Like I think Fortnite is going to hit a point. I don't know if it'll happen in the Game Awards. I'm not sure if it's fast enough, or if that's too fast. But I think it'll hit a point where you're seeing like Nintendo characters totally playable on an Xbox because
You can't. Who is Nintendo going to let hold a gun?
They've already done
I
it
mean,
with
I've already let Mario.
No, it is it's not wasn't it specifically not a gun or
whatever.
something? There was something weird like
was
because they
pretty
had to
much a
do the
gun.
blaster thing because they couldn't do like a regular gun. I think.
basically a gun. I can find a lot of if I Google most image search Luigi with a gun, then I will find you plenty of
Not any
images.
official.
The-
maybe
the-
maybe
I just
they
googled
used the
Mario
blaster
gun,
in
and
Smash.
the third image is from is from that. It's from.
I feel like there was like some weird like they have to do like the blaster thing because they
Sure,
can't let them
but
hold like a
they'll-
real gun.
They'll end up doing it in Fortnite without those restrictions. Mario will hold a gun, and they'll be like, this isn't technically real Mario. This is Fortnite Mario, and he's an impersonator or something. They'll do that.
He'll be in
Real
Smash in
ass
6 months'
Mario.
time. Fortnite Mario, and it's just the exact same moveset, but a gun instead of a fireball.
If you want guns,
Yeah, exactly.
I think,
Yes.
I think the obvious answers are like Fox and Samus. Like those people have
Fox
guns.
would be good, actually.
But I want to see
Link.
I want to see
of the skins.
I want to see fucking Rosalina with like a machine gun.
I mean, I can find that for you in like 30 seconds.
Again, not official, right?
No, not official. But I mean, if you want
Bowsette.
I was gonna say
there we
Toadette,
go.
but
And the horniest Bowsette ever will be the one that's in Fortnite.
the Wii Fit trainer.
Oh, she
Wii Fit
would.
Trainer's already got a gun.
We Fit Trainer is passe. It's got to be the dragon from Wing.
You know the
Drago?
Wii Fit trainer
The Dragon from Ring Fit has got 2 guns, buddy.
Yeah, the Wii Fit trainer like goes to like concealed carry yoga classes where you do yoga while you have your gun.
Is that a thing?
Yes, that's a oh yes.
Oh my
that's a thing.
god. United States, why?
Yeah.
I mean, you could ask that about a whole lot
There
of
is
things.
anything you can think of in the United States, we have that plus a gun.
I've seen a dog gun holster.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not
You can
surprised.
get a holster that. Yep, that's 100%.
You can just put it on your dog, so you don't have to carry a gun.
Okay, yeah.
Officer Rudy had it.
Does that dog have a permit?
It was my dog's. You'll have to ask him.
Rough. All right.
No, I'm saying Link, Breath of the Wild, specifically Link, because if you think like Sheikah Slate patterned guns, like there's a lot of stuff you could have, like a little guardian, like there's a lot of stuff you could do, and it could cross promote
I bet there'll
Hyrule
be
Warriors
Destiny and
too.
Fortnite eventually too.
So what did Galactus actually do? They just like
He bores,
He tried
bores
to
the
eat
world.
Fortnite, and it didn't
Tried?
super work.
is because Fortnite is too big. It's too popular. The people fought back.
He's trying to eat the 0 point, which is the energy thing that fuels the world of Fortnite.
We can't
like where the black hole was.
Yeah, I need to actually look at the Fortnite storyline because I'm semi-invested in Fortnite now.
You played like 4 hours in the past 4 days. I refuse to accept this semi-invested narrative.
I just find it interesting.
It's fine.
Like,
I'm not
every
taking
time
it
I
away
play a
from you.
game, I'm like, this is good.
You could
What's
be
going on here?
invested. I'm not saying you can't play Fortnite. I'm just saying this has all happened in like the last less than a week.
Hey man, life comes at you fast.
But no, what would have been rad is if like this wouldn't have happened, but if no one played this event and Galactus did actually eat Fortnite and
I wish
Fortnite
that
was
had
just
happened.
it was just over.
Apparently my friend's son was super hyped for Galactus. They played it and everything. He got to see it, which is great. And then the timer comes up, right, which is essentially just their maintenance. And and his son was like adamant that something was going to happen when it hit 0, and it was like going to blow everyone's minds. So they had to leave the timer on for the whole 9 hours on the TV. And then nothing happened, of course.
Teach how old is this
They
kid?
would have shown a video, I expect, to start the season. There was a kickoff video.
Yeah, but that just
people
happens when you
flossing.
launch the game after the maintenance.
How old is this child?
I think he's like 8 or 9 years old.
Gotta get him young. Gotta teach him.
Yeah.
Nothing good comes at the end of a timer.
It's the classic story of like 2 years ago. He was like, my kid's not going to play Fortnite. That's trash. And then,
Why would you even?
My kid's gonna play PUBG.
and we were all like, your kid's going to play Fortnite.
Ring
As
of
soon as your kid
Elysium
finds out
only.
what Fortnite is, your kid's going to play Fortnite.
Only
My
in
kid only
radical
plays
heights.
All right, I am commandeering this conversation, and I am
Please do.
gonna say, Nintendo. What if they had like a battle royale where like 35 Marios dropped into a Mario level, and then
What
it
if?
disappeared on March 31st?
Sounds like it would be interesting for a few rounds, and then you might get bored, and it would make sense that it's only available for a limited time.
I bet the fans would make a great version of that.
Yeah, that's forever available and better than whatever Nintendo does, and then it would get
Okay, love
DMCA.
it though. is the
Well,
thing.
this is not in any way meant as like picking on you, Allison, but if they made like a Coheed and Cambria battle royale that was even more, a better example, there's a bad Coheed and Cambria fighting game on mobile. I still like it a lot because it's one of my favorite things.
Okay. You say that like, oh, there's an element of, well, you like Mario, so you might like this, where I think it's like legitimately surprisingly good. Like once you've put a couple rounds into it and you get used to all of it.
Okay. I mean, I believe you. I believe that you're impartial enough to make that judgment.
Yeah, because like I played so I've been playing Super Mario Brothers 35, right? I played a couple rounds like right when it launched and was like, I kind of felt that same way where I was like, let's not. I'm going to. I'm not really into this. I will go back and just not play anymore. But for some reason, I decided, okay, I'm going to try it again and put a little bit more time into it, and then I got really kind of hooked on it. The thing that I think is really, really interesting is that I feel like it's completely transformed Mario Brothers into a different game, which is really interesting. Like there's very specifically different ways of playing it, and there's like a different meta to playing it in 35 versus playing it regularly. So like I really as everybody probably already knows, I love Tetris 99, but in essence it is Tetris, really, right? So like you're playing Tetris, it's how you would play Tetris in another game, just, you know, in kind of more of a battle royale thing. Whereas with Mario 35, it really adjusts how you play the game, because of it really puts a new value on things like coins. And then also there's the specific time clock that you have, which you increase by defeating enemies or getting extra power-ups or getting to the end of the level. So there are a lot of times where you might be playing through 1-1, which, you know, everybody's played a million times, but you might linger in the level a lot longer than you otherwise would because you want to try to get more time, or you want to get as many of the coins out of the level as you possibly can. So I feel like there's like this very interesting kind of meta in there with Mario 35 that I didn't notice the first time I started playing it, but has made it an interesting one to play longer. I don't know how long I'll play it, but I've been really enjoying it this week because it's, I think a surprisingly more interesting game than I thought it would be when I first heard it and when I first started playing it.
Well, I mean, there's a limit to how long you can play it.
Yeah, there is, which is dumb.
Yeah, I feel like it's either interesting enough to sustain, like to be playable for a long time, and then it's frustrating that they're limiting it, or it's a fun little curiosity that doesn't really have the legs and it makes sense that they're limiting it. Either way, it's kind of like, it's not wrong that they did it. I mean, it's I'm glad that a thing exists for people to enjoy for any amount of time, even if it's ephemeral, but still it's just weird. It's just
I think it's a bad idea that it's limited, and I think that's the biggest frustration about it. The only other frustration I would have with it is just that you play 1-1 so many times that you're just like, okay, I get it. But at the same time, that's kind of easy, makes it like when that pops up, it kind of gives you a little reprieve when you're like, okay, I know this level like the back of my hand.
1-1 is the best Mario level.
I mean, it's a great level. It's just that it's at the start of every game you get 1-1. You start with 1-1, and each game.
I thought you could pick different starting levels.
You pick levels, but those get kind of I think from what I understand, those get shuffled into the rotation of upcoming levels. So you'll see the same level come up multiple times, which if you're playing a game, you will run into 1-1 multiple times.
Okay.
But I think it always starts with 1-1. I don't know if there's ever a time where it might start differently, but I've always started with 1-1. But also, part of that is because people pick it, which I'm like, I don't know why you keep picking that. But then also,
yeah,
but also
it's the best.
But then also, you're unlocking levels when you beat a level, so you can pick it. You can only pick a level after you've beaten it in a game. So it's like
it's the
people
map
might just not have unlocked anything yet. So
it's the map voting problem.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, it's like it's one of those things where it's become kind of the default level for it. So when it comes up, you're kind of like, okay, fine, I know how to deal with this, unless it's late in the game and there's a bunch of weird enemies in there, and you're like, how do I deal with this Bowser and this Hammer Brother?
There's a consistent problem with Call of Duty games when, like, this year's Call of Duty has map voting in it. So before the game starts, people get to vote on what map they want to play. And in theory, you're like, oh, cool. That means that I can have some agency in picking the next map. The problem is that what it turns into is there are like 3 favorite maps, and that's all anyone ever votes for. So you don't see half the maps in the game because people just want to play the ones that they can grind the experience out on the fastest.
So just Nuketown.
Basically, yes. There is a Nuketown 24/7 playlist that seems to be permanent, so hopefully that'll curtail some of that. And I say this as someone who played like 5 or 6 hours of Nuketown by itself on the 24/7 playlist in the last week, so not opposed to some Nuketown, but
yeah, I'd say that this is kind of similar to that, where it's since everybody's picking levels to be put into the rotation. If everybody picks 1-1, then it's like,
yeah,
and then also I think it gets interesting, because since you send enemies to other people, if people have sent you interesting enemies, then there can just be like tons of different wild variety of enemies. But then the issue is that you can only send enemies back if it's there on your screen. So if everybody just keeps doing 1-1, then it's just like nothing but Goombas, which is not really interesting. But I don't know. I think I like it, and I actually would recommend giving it a shot if you're interested. I don't think it's an anywhere near the level of Tetris 99, because I still love Tetris 99 a lot, but I do think that I'm surprised at how much time I've put into Mario 35 this week and how much I liked it.
All right. I cannot believe that they have so much stuff going away in March. That's just so weird and bizarre. But
yeah, I think that's horrible, and I really think that they should hopefully keep 3D All-Stars and keep this on the eShop. I would be.
I'm super opposed to piracy and would never endorse people pirating stuff, but at the same time, it definitely makes me feel like, I don't fucking care. Whatever. Get the games how you can get them. Like, fuck Nintendo.
I mean, if you can't get them legally after March, then
they're probably better on Dolphin with fan patches anyway. So
100%. Next up, I mean, I could have sworn this was like a Pat thing that he put on this list. You want to talk about some coffee, Allison?
Yeah.
I got excited because I thought this was just going to be talking about coffee for a little bit, and then I realized it was a game.
It's a game. Yeah. No,
Still excited,
it is.
But
it is. I feel like Pat should probably give it a shot if you want to play a visual novel, because
I don't. But sorry, the timing opportunity was too perfect. I'm not actually that. I enjoyed Necro Barista a lot.
Yeah. So the thing that I would say this is probably closer to is Valhalla. It's pretty dang similar too, especially the kind of art style and the aspect of making drinks for people. But Coffee Talk, it is set in an alternate version of Seattle, which is also why Pat could play it, where there's a bunch of different it's kind of fantasy creatures, but set in the modern day. Like it's specifically set in September 2020, which leads to some interesting things. But yeah, so it's basically a visual novel where you're playing as the owner of this cafe, and you're making people drinks and listening to people talk about stuff. So it's very much a visual novel. It's very much in that same vein, like I said, of Valhalla. But I've been really enjoying the time I put into it. It's one of those games that I really wanted to come back to before the end of the year, because I just kind of kept putting it off, and it's been a fun time to enjoy. It's different from Necrobarista, but it's also similar in that it's taking this kind of concept and trying to discuss some really interesting ideas with it. I don't think it's quite as well written as Necrobarista, personally. There are certain times where they're talking about social topics that are edits a little bit overhanded, a little bit too
I
sorry.
was just gonna say I have a question, because I'm looking up info about this game, and it's by Toge, they're also the ones who made like When the Past Was Around, and they are Indonesian. So does it feel, because it's set in Seattle, does it feel like it was written by someone from Seattle, or does it feel like someone who has seen a lot of Seattle through Frasier and now wants to write a game, but though they are from Indonesia?
See, I was thinking about that earlier, because I feel like it's at certain points gets American culture, but also they can get away with not knowing everything, because it is this very much different universe. So it's not supposed to be set in our Seattle. It's Seattle, but everything is different. It sometimes covers it covers certain American social issues. Like one of the as it is, tale as old as time with like fantasy stuff, dealing with being as an analog for racism, and then also it's dealt with healthcare briefly, and then immigration briefly. So it's dealing with these American issues, and there's certain points where I'm like, you wonder to what extent that team.
I've heard that it kind of, and I haven't played it, so this is just what I've heard from a couple other podcast conversations, that it kind of misses the mark on some of the talking about racism. And stuff.
It feels very like that. That's the thing where like I said, where it's like kind of heavy-handed. It's very much like there's nothing that's been like outwardly
nothing offensive.
And you can tell that they're coming into it with good intentions, but it's just very much like it kind of goes some of the stereotypical route where it's like the elves are snooty and they're discriminating against the orcs, and that's like
and there's, from what I've heard, there's some we look different, but we are at the end of the day, we're all people, and we should come together, and it's wrong for us to mistreat each other, kind of like
it's very heavy-handed like that, where it's like kind of.
That was what put me off of it initially, to be honest, was hearing that it didn't have a lot of nuance in some of that stuff.
Yeah, I would say that the thing that I think is not the worst about it, though, is just that that's only an element of it, of the story and of the characters. And I've liked a lot of the characters that I've run into so far. And I think that there's enough interesting things there with the characters that the couple of times where they're like, kind of stumbling over heavy-handed social messaging is okay. It's like, and it's also, again, one of those things where you can tell that they're coming at it from a place of kindness, and they're coming at it from a place of like good intentions.
I think it's well intentioned for sure.
It's like well intentioned, and there's enough other interesting things that going on there that you're like, you know, occasionally there might be a line where like, okay, I see what you're trying to do there.
Yeah.
Oh no, these characters are different, but they're trying to get married, but their families don't approve. Like there's very kind of stereotypical stuff. But I think it's, you know, decent enough on the end of the day that it's like that you can kind of look past it. There are just a couple times where I'm like, I see what you're doing here, you know.
Yeah.
But
and that's actually almost directly how I felt about when I played their demo for A Space for the Unbound, which was the one where you kind of go into people's dreams and stuff like that, where it's like, it seems like they're almost going to do, like they're trying to do some stuff that's really interesting, but the issue I had with A Space for the Unbound, and I only played the prologue because that's all that's out, was like you dive into someone's brain or dreams or mind or whatever, and you only get like 2 to 5 minutes in there, so they don't really take enough time to actually explore anything. It's like,
see, that's a little bit different because these are, since you're running a cafe, like these characters come in different times, different days. So you see the same characters over and over, and you start learning more and more about the characters. So it might maybe get a little bit more nuanced later. I just don't know if it will. But that's one of the things that I think works well is that you see these characters multiple times and you start to kind of, you know, kind of grow with them. And also you see the characters come in multiple times and then all interact with each other, which is probably, I think my favorite thing is just seeing these different characters interacting with each other and those kinds of kind of variations on who's talking to whom. And there's certain dialogue moments that are legitimately really, really good, I think. Especially with some of the animation, which is like a 90s anime type animation. But there are a couple of moments where some of the character animation I think is really, really good in conveying things, and it looks really nice. So it's like I feel like I'm very conflicted because I feel like it is just like a step away from being like really, really fantastic, but it's just like not quite there, you know, where I'm like, ooh, if you'd like, you know, workshop this a little bit more, or if you'd refined this aspect of it a little bit more, then it's like, it could have been really great because I feel like also the aesthetic and the general vibe and the general music works really, really well too. So I even if there's something that's a little bit heavy handed or something that doesn't really quite work, I'm really willing to push through it. Especially given in this year, 2020, where the idea of like going and hanging out at a coffee shop is just like so foreign to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's still worth it. Like it's not a very expensive game. I got it on sale for I think under $10. And I this like genre of game of make a drink for somebody and then there's chatter, I think is like a very specific micro genre that I enjoy a lot and would want more of. I don't think it does it quite as well as Valhalla, but
and you have Apple Arcade, right? So
not anymore, but I can get it.
Okay, I was gonna say because then you could maybe try NeoCab, which I personally did not like very much, but
I played some of NeoCab. It was fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say it tries to do some stuff similar, but I didn't like it very much.
I didn't particularly like it myself. I was actually kind of excited about it, but it wasn't really
bounced off of it. I would say that the best one so far is Valhalla, but yeah, I think I still think it's worth it, especially if you're willing to kind of push through some of the rougher elements to, especially get to some of the aesthetic, and then also just I think that there are some good story moments and some good conversational moments as well too. So
Oh man, sorry, I have some breaking news.
Ooh.
That I just got in my email straight up. I'm going to send the link to our group chat so you can all look at it at the same time. Okay. But Final Fantasy XIV has a sticker set crossed with Pusheen, the kitty cat.
It's so cute.
So it's a bunch of adorable takes on Final Fantasy XIV characters you know and love, but it's also a cat. So you got Pusheen, the little kitty cat, riding a chocobo and stuff like that. Fuck, that's pretty fantastic.
Cute.
That is a cat. That is Todd Howard is not happy.
It's like Todd Howard says no.
Baby Todd Howard found out about the Starfield
This is also
leaks.
a cat.
Aw. But man, if I can get a Pusheen Yashtola, I'm in. Anyways.
And to buy an iPhone, Alex.
Yeah, I think that's everything I had to say about Coffee Talk. But I'd be interested to hear if anybody else plays it and wants to know, or plays it and what they think about it.
All right, cool. Well, you've got one more game on here that I played.
Yeah.
Talked about. You see, you finally picked it up.
Yeah, I picked it up quite a while ago, but this is just me playing it now. Yeah, so I've been playing a bit of the Solitaire Conspiracy. So I recently got a new computer.
Hell yeah. Through
very weird circumstances. But I got a new laptop, and among it, and one of the things I was doing was, since this laptop has integrated graphics, which is not what I would necessarily choose, but I also got this laptop for free. I was just testing out some of the games on it and seeing, what could this laptop handle in terms of gaming, especially since it's a very small and light computer, so it's very mobile, much more than my old laptop. But one of the things I decided to give a shot was the Solitaire Conspiracy, which has actually been pretty fun, in part because my computer has a touchscreen, so I can just play with the touchscreen, which has been really nice. Yeah. It works really well.
Did you immediately just start poking Greg Miller's face?
No. Maybe next time I play, I should, to see if there's any. It is very funny to see Greg Miller just being Greg Miller in this game. I've
wanted to play this, but I was waiting to see if there was going to be an iPad version.
I feel like it would work remarkably well, like especially playing it with using the touch screen. I feel
Solitaire. It's kind of made for that kind of.
It would be perfect for like an iPad. I think because. Yeah, but I've been enjoying it. I've only put like an hour into it so far, so it's not too much time, but it's also a short game.
It's not a super long game. They are doing an update with like more story stuff and some more modes or like new cards. I'm not entirely sure what's in it, but they are updating it. So
I think the general aesthetic is really fun, and I mean Solitaire is good. I feel like I don't really use the special abilities as much as I probably should. So I feel like I'm not necessarily using it as well as they'd want it to be, to like kind of using the new systems in play to as much as I should, just because I'm kind of like, every so often I see it and like I have an opportunity and I'm like, oh, that's fine. But
as you get further in and like you do you have like 4 teams or like 4
I just got 4 teams.
Okay. Yeah. So as you get more of them and like some of them have like not super, like most of the teams early on have very like easy or like useful skills.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the other teams have more like skills that hinder you, and so you have to be more careful about not
to use those.
Yeah, or like using them in a specific instance and not just like putting stuff wherever, whenever. So it becomes harder, but it is pretty easy early on.
Yeah, and it's mostly playing Solitaire. and then I occasionally try to use some of the abilities, but I don't. I just feel like I'm not necessarily playing it with a full extent. But then also I'm playing it on the more casual chill mode, just because I'm like I don't really feel like this being super difficult. So, but yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. I think it's a fun game. I like solitaire, so it's interesting to kind of play something that's trying to do something different, and a lot of the flavor text is very fun too. So I'm interested to see where it all goes, and it's like I said, it's very, very weird sometimes when whatever Greg Miller shows up and you're like, oh hey.
Is like between most missions.
Yeah.
It's not.
He just shows up and you're like
Jim Ratio.
Jim Ratio.
Yeah.
That is a good game. I mean, good name. Yeah.
It's not very long, is it, Andre?
No, it's pretty short.
It's meant to be a short game.
Yeah, it's just like a short FMV story to kind of basically introduce you to their teams and like the way they, their take on solitaire. It's kind of ease you into it, walk you through it, and then it has like a bunch of replayable modes where you're trying to go for like speed and like fewest moves and stuff like that. I think there's like even like a daily challenge in there, maybe.
I think so. That's what it looked like, which is interesting. I'm still just playing through the story, but it's I think it's interesting, and I think that I'm really glad that there's people who are like Mike Bithell who are making weird games that they want to make. So I kind of want to keep supporting that. Yes. Whereas like I'm gonna make a short game that's solitaire, and you're like, okay.
That and like Zachtronics with all their weird solitaire games.
Yeah, just like being able to do whatever they want. I appreciate that when somebody's able to just go, I don't know, I feel like making this kind of game. So yeah, so
I'd highly recommend Flip Flop Solitaire if anyone is interested in iOS solitaire games. Flip Flop. I feel like I probably couldn't go back to playing other solitaire games after how well that's made.
Is that a purring cat?
Sounds like crickets, which is very funny with how silent it just was.
Yes, I agree.
Following up a joke with crickets.
Funny.
Speaking of nature and crickets and shit, Pat, you played a game about nature.
Yeah, who here likes birds?
Fuck yeah.
What kind of birds?
Okay, I'm out. I'll see you guys later.
All kinds of birds. Every bird that exists.
Bye, Sam.
No, but many birds.
I love birds, dude. They can fly. How rad is that?
Yes, and
whatever. People can fly. We have planes for that. No. Like whatever.
No, we can't. Can you fly? Can you fly right now? Can you go and fly out of it?
Wait,
I'm on the first floor, so probably not. Like it's got.
I don't think jumping. I don't think if you were on the third floor, you'd be any more effective at flying.
Yeah, you get some. Got to get some air under these wings, and it's just like I'm not going to get like a running start out of this room. It's pretty small.
So Pat, you play Bulletstorm because people can fly.
I hate that.
Bulletstorm is good. Yeah, it's a good game.
I mean, it was. I don't know if it still is, but
yeah, I haven't played it since then.
So I played a game called Wingspan, which is a digital adaptation of a board game that the board game won a lot of awards, a lot of very prestigious awards when it came out in 2018, I believe. Yeah, in 2018. And Sam actually left. I didn't realize he was actually.
Oh yeah, I thought that was just a gag.
In chat, he said nobody referenced it, but I didn't know when I saw it.
Nice, Sam.
You ruined it.
All right, well,
Sam hates birds.
You can find Sam on Twitter at SGCH.
He might post pictures of his cat. Yeah, anyways, Wingspan, it's a board game.
It was a board game, kind of cardboard game, beautiful game. It has like a 3D dice tower that looks like a bird house. It's like super high production value. It's produced by Stonemaier Games, which did Scythe, if that's a game that anyone is familiar with, which is another phenomenal board game.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's interesting because it is a very, it's taking a very abstract concept, which is just birds. Like, it's not like, I mean, technically the idea is you're a bird watcher, but it's not like, you're trying to rebuild your flock or whatever. It's just like, that's birds. That's
birds.
You could make, with the rule set that this game has, you could make it anything. It could be trains or classic automobiles or whatever. Because what you're doing is, it's what's called an engine builder, which is a board game genre where there's not a ton of player interaction. You're not like taking things from other players. You're not harming other players, except that there is a publicly available set of things to pick from. In this case, it's bird cards. And so other players might take the card you wanted from the supply area. And that's kind of the main form of interaction. Otherwise, it is who can use their limited resources to build the best engine, which is to say, like, when I activate this thing, it starts off like if I want food, because you need food to play birds. So I'm going to take a food action. I get to pick one piece of food from the bird feeder, like that's publicly available.
This is somebody else turn into that like Pro ZD.
I was just thinking about that.
Like, dairy cow.
Yeah. Here's the dairy driver. She's making
No. If you take, like, let's say, we have a pool of 5 dice and it's time for me to play. I want to play my chickadee that requires a worm. And so I take a worm from the bird feeder and now there's no more worms. And then you go, I needed a worm. And so then you have to figure out a different solution to your problem. But then I play the chickadee on my next turn. And now when I take food from the bird feeder, I also get to take an additional piece of food or something. And so it's kind of like you're building up an efficiency engine to make your actions have more effects and carry.
Yeah, this really does sound like that Pro ZD video. Like the more you talk about it.
I actually don't know that video. So
I will send it to you.
Maybe it's a video
it.
about engine building board games. I don't know.
It is, or it's like magic, but it's like when you play someone who's got the way.
Video. Oh no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. This isn't like that really, but I can see why it would sound like that. Yeah. But it's a very cool game. I highly recommend checking it out to anyone. The thing that is kind of most relevant for us is that this digital adaptation for it is quite good, like exceedingly good. It is gorgeous, which is something that it's hard to capture how pretty the physical game is. I mean, it has, there's a concept of like needing eggs, and they have little physical egg tokens that are really pretty, and different tokens for the food that are really pretty, and the whole presentation of the board game. It's the kind of board game that I initially was like, oh, this game is so pretty. I don't know if it would work as well as a video game because it's going to lose all that physicality, but they did such a great job with the art and the music in the digital version that I think it is, like, in every way. I'm surprised it costs what it does. I think it's like $15. And I think it is, the production value and the art and the music and everything are so good. We had a little bit of, I played it with some friends. We had some, I guess it's $20. $20 makes a little more sense. But we had a few technical hiccups, but it wasn't clear if it was because people weren't understanding something about the client or if it was like an actual technical issue. People were claiming that, like, oh, it just went, I didn't get to do a thing. And my assumption is that they clicked the button to advance the turn because they thought they were supposed to click it to do the thing. I don't think it was actually a technical bug. They claimed it was. I don't know. But it does have some really cool features, like it has an asynchronous mode where basically you have 24 hours to play your turn. So you can set up a game with a group.
It's like chess by email.
Yeah, at that point, that's kind of what it becomes. You can set up a game with a group and asynchronously like take your action, and then somebody else can take their action, and you get a Steam notification. I don't know how it works on Switch because it's on Switch also, but you get a notification on Steam after when it's your turn. And since it's lightweight, you can. I was actually.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So wait, so you get a notification on Steam, like
yes.
how? Like, is it like
a pop-up, like when someone adds you as a friend or there's a news item or something that you're subscribed to.
I haven't seen one of those before. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty common now with board games, digital board games. I think you can get it for. I think you can turn it on for like Civilization and stuff like that too.
That's cool.
But it's nice because you don't even have to be running the game, and it'll say like, yeah, there's a turn waiting for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's super lightweight, so you can just click the notification and it'll launch the game and drop you into your game, and it launches really fast, especially if you have it on SSD. And like, my computer is relatively powerful, but I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and this game at the same time, because while I love the group that I was playing with, at a certain point, our game took about 4 hours, and this is a game that should take maybe an hour at most. It is not a like War of Attrition super long board game, but everyone I was playing with was like not planning their turns at all ahead of time, so they were taking like 10 minutes to play their turns. So at a certain point, it became like a half-hour wait to get to my turn. So anyway, I was playing another game and this game at the same time, and they were both running at 60 frames a second with no issues. So it's a lightweight game. I'm sure it runs great on Switch. Cool. I imagine that you can use the touchscreen, which would make things nice on Switch, but it also has controller support on PC, and it seems to work pretty well. It's a little complicated to get into at first because they throw a lot of terms at you and there's a lot of rules. But the tutorial is really good, and because it has such an approachable theme, I think it makes the game, it kind of creates a level playing field to an extent. It's not like you're immediately being thrown into like some kind of like violent science fiction thing. It's just like, oh no, these are just different birds, and you can turn on narration that reads you a bird fact whenever you play a bird for the first time.
Fuck yeah.
Bird facts.
Yeah, it's great. I'm very into it, so I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it seems good.
Yeah, I hope they do the expansions, because there's expansions for the board game.
Like new birds or
new birds, and I think they primarily focus on that.
What's the best bird in the game?
Oh, that's a tough question. There is a bird gallery that you get the bird cards in as you play them. I am a fan of I don't remember what bird does it, what it's called, because I've only played one game. But there is a bird that when you play it, if you have enough food to play another bird with it in its habitat, you can play both of them, which is very powerful because the game is about like you take one action per turn. And so basically, and there's only 27 total turns that you're going to get to take in the whole game, because that's how they limit it, is by turn count basically. So getting an extra turn is quite powerful basically, because you're getting two actions with one thing. So I would say that one was my favorite in our game. But there's other little mechanics with the way cards interact too. Like sometimes birds will be like, you activate this, and now other players get to do this or have to do this. So there's a little bit of interaction as well, beyond just playing your own game in a corner.
So I have one question before we end up moving on and such. Would you say this, well, I don't know if we can say it's the best, but does it rank among the top real
bird
world
games?
Bird games, but also real world board games to digital board game like conversions, like, having that analog?
Yeah, it's tough to say because I think certainly this year, it would be hard to say over time because, like there's some really great adaptations of chess, for example.
Sure.
And like, I think that so I think like to some extent it's sort of a yes and no. There are games where, like the adaptation of Small World, you can play it cross-platform with mobile, and this one you can play Switch and PC, but it's not on mobile. So I would say it's certainly up there for implementation this year, but there's certain parts of it that I think could be better, but it's not like it's like it would impact my review of it. It's more like there are other adaptations that do a pretty phenomenal job of specific things. So I guess yes and no, kind of.
Sure.
because there's some stuff I would like to see them add to it to make it even better.
All right.
Well, I mean,
that's a Wingspan.
Yeah, it's too bad that birds aren't real.
Oh, it was too bad.
It's it's a real like impressive thing when a game can like create such a rich fiction and like unique things. Like it's no Pokemon, but it's like to
such
do
like a
one
beautiful fantasy world.
One category of like flying creature, like to make so many is pretty cool.
I'll say if you're looking for a game to play with like family while everyone's quarantined, or even if you're looking for a game to play with your family while you're quarantined together, as like a physical game, as long as you don't go birds, I fucking hate birds, I think I can pretty directly recommend this game as a really good board game and digital board game. So from a mechanical perspective, it's really good for new board game players. And it's one of those games that like, I think Catan is bad. And I think this game is a much better, like, oh, you're interested in playing a deeper board game, we should try Wingspan. I think it's just like it's got that like it's crunchy and complex enough for people who are into games, and it's approachable enough between the theme and the way the rules are presented that it's good for newer players too. So
yeah, you've been playing another game.
Yeah, I'll hit it real quick.
That was your worst transition I've ever heard.
That might be my favorite.
It's factually accurate, though.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
I have been playing one other game, basically.
He refuses to play anything else.
Yeah. My devotion to completing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and its DLC. I'll hit it very fast because we're going long, and I don't talked about it at length before, but I'm playing through the Fall of Atlantis stuff, which is not what I expected from a narrative perspective, but I think the narrative devices they use to frame it are really, really cool. And it does a thing that I won't spoil for people who play it someday, but it is buck wild the way that they're like, now you're going to do this.
You talking about this is making me want to go back into this game.
You all might play it and go, whatever, it's just Assassin's Creed bullshit. So maybe it's just me, but I think that the suggestion of what is occurring when you break it down is
okay.
It's real wild.
I have one question, and if like, feel free to be as spoilery as possible with this specific question. Do you encounter Tom Clancy?
So what I would like to do is if Allison and Andre, if you want to play this DLC for this game from 2018, perhaps take your headphones off for like a minute, and I want to just explain to Alex the framing device here.
All right.
It's not
okay.
Wait.
Yeah.
At some point, I'd like to play it, but I'm not going to take my headphones off because I'm already playing the sequel.
And
yeah,
you probably know some stuff. So
maybe.
So what happens at the end of Assassin's Creed Odyssey from the meta narrative perspective is there's this object called the Staff of Hermes Trismegistus, which is Hermes' staff. And it makes its bearer immortal. So Cassandra becomes the staff bearer. She herself, Cassandra, or Alexios, I guess, if you played it wrong, hands Layla, the Out of Animus. She just pops up at the gates to Atlantis at the end of the base game and is there and has the staff and is wearing a suit because she's been like interacting in society for the past, 1,000 years, 2,000 years. What am I saying? And she's like, you're the staff bearer now, Layla. And she hands her the staff and she dies because she's not immortal anymore. And it's actually to me, it was pretty emotional. So the Fate of Atlantis DLC is that Layla needs to learn how to use the staff to save the world. I mean, I don't know what is going to happen next in the meta narrative, but she isn't a powerful, like she's not strong enough yet to wield the staff against whatever the bad stuff is. So she has to learn how to use it, and she can't go into Atlantis, which is where the trials are that teach you how to use the staff, because she's not strong enough yet. So the Isu first civilization woman that's been guiding Cassandra and Layla simultaneously, because the Isu can simulate all realities, so that's how they can talk through time from the Animus to the person using the Animus, guides Cassandra to go through the trials in a first civilization, basically Animus that she has created where you go to the Elysian fields of Greek mythology as Cassandra so that Layla can experience it through Cassandra and learn how to use the staff that by experiencing Cassandra learn how to use the staff.
And you're just playing Hades for this, right? It's just that's the entire it's just playing Hades.
But it is fucking, as soon as it unfolded, where I was like, wait a minute, Layla is in the Animus to go into another Inception level of simulation.
We need to go deeper
as Cassandra to learn how to use a staff because she can't do it herself. And I was like, this is fucking wild.
So I've got I've heard spoilers for the end of this DLC. Then
I haven't
for the end of
So as you pointed out, the ending of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is that because of the bleed effect, Desmond ends up stabbing Kristen Bell's character.
The two people that will get that reference are going to lose their fucking mind.
So the way that they set up this DLC is Layla is underwater at the gates to Atlantis and is going through all this stuff, and her doctor comes down to be like, I need to keep an eye on you. So I don't know how it ends. It's very possible that the exact same thing happens and the bleed effect occurs and she kills the doctor, and it's just like Brotherhood. We'll see.
Literally, so I'm playing Valhalla, and minor spoilers, but I've already kind of spoiled it, is Sean from like the first games, like the British guy is meets, finds you.
That's
exciting.
And he's like,
that's cool. Oh yeah, no,
he's my favorite of the modern day characters. So.
He's like, oh no, it's chill. We've dealt with that kind of thing before.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh
yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. I think I know what happened now.
Anyway, you can. Oh yeah, the dab. Yeah. Anyway, so what I'll say about the mechanically that is non-spoilery for the ending is they introduce some very cool powers that enhance your abilities rather than introduce new abilities, and they're really neat. They make you want to play with abilities that I never even leveled up in the base game, and they give you opportunities to get a bunch of skill points so that you can go back and level shit up that you hadn't before. The criticism I have of it is only a half criticism, which is that these games are very much the kind of thing I wish, like I'm excited to finish Odyssey so that I can spend 2021 having Valhalla in the background, because this is a game that I don't think you should play the way that I'm playing it, which is to say marathoning it, because by my math, there's 300 to 400 hours of content in the game when you combine the base game and the DLC. And the problem that I'm having with the Fall of Atlantis DLC is each episode, and there are 3, is like some semi-tight zone, but it's still pretty big. It's like as big as one of the regions in the base game, and the way that they structure the objectives are, you'll have a quest that is part of the main quest that is essentially to do everything in each zone, and while that is manageable, it still takes like 10 hours and makes the whole DLC over 30 hours long to play through. And that's not a bad thing, because it's really fun, and the way they reframe the combat with the new abilities makes it feel fresh and cool. Like I think they could have sold this as a Miles Morales style side game sort of thing if they had wanted to. Them selling it as DLC that's pretty affordable at this point is cool. But for me, as someone who is very excited to play Cyberpunk in 5 days, and who wants to play Valhalla and Bugsnax and Miles Morales, and wants to check out Yakuza a little bit before our game of the year, it's like, oh my God, I just want to get through this. But I genuinely do want to get through it. It's not like I'm not having a good time. It's just those games are really bloated with side stuff, fun side stuff. But yeah, so definitely recommend it to people who have a lot of time. And I think if you are the sort of person who wants to play a kind of game for 1,000 hours, that pack that is like Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, you could probably just play that for all of 2021 and have a good time, because there's a lot of content there and it's a fun game.
Yeah.
And also fuck Ubisoft as always, but you know.
As always, yes.
I don't like to level praise, like heap praise on their games and not point out that they still have incredibly problematic culture issues there that hopefully are being actually worked on like they said they would. But you know,
Yeah,
we don't
just like
know.
Riot.
Exactly, right? Like we don't know. Riot seems to be a burning trash fire still. So yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of
well,
Assassin's Creed games,
speaking of, I've been playing the new one,
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla, after not really liking Origins that much, and then like I played quite a bit of it, but then I stopped, and then I liked Odyssey, but then I fell off that like 20 hours in. Now here I am playing Valhalla, and I'm liking it quite a bit. This is like the Norse themed one, as you might be able to tell from the name. But most of the game takes place.
I thought it was the Blind Guardian themed one.
Takes place.
Oh my god, I want to play that game.
If the theme song
Anyway.
is just goes Valhalla Deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
Most of this game takes place in the UK. In I guess not even the UK
Technically
at
it's
that
like
point. It's in Britain
Yeah.
in like the 9th century.
It's 9th century. Yeah, I was looking it up because I was desperately seeking whether or not it was like
prequel or sequel.
And I know enough about British history and European history to like know when the Vikings were invading, but I was really hoping that they like fudged it a little bit and there was going to be castles, but there are no castles
No.
if it's set in the 9th century.
Yeah, there's a lot of churches, and you raid a lot of churches and
I'm excited for that.
monasteries. It's funny because you are much like Black Flag. You are not an assassin. You are just kind of like you are assassin adjacent. You're like
That's how
working
Odyssey
with
is,
Yeah, you're working with assassons. But
Yeah,
like, doesn't Odyssey like predates all the assassin
Yeah, so
stuff?
Origins is when the Assassin's Order, hence the name, comes into being, and they have the hidden ones, and they have the symbol and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we're so Eivor and company have left Norway due to some like political situation stuff, and
Which,
made
as I
their way
understand, is fairly historically accurate as to how things were going in Norway.
I mean, with how Assassin's Creed tends to do its stuff, I would not be surprised. I don't know a lot about Viking history, but yeah, so they, like hour 4-ish or whatever, I was, after clearing out most of that first area, I made my way to England and building up my settlement there. And yeah, I mean, it's an Assassin's Creed game. It's a modern Assassin's Creed game. A lot of the side stuff, interestingly, has been pretty short. Like everything I've come across so far has been like mostly completable in like 2 minutes, which is interesting. Like it's a lot of just like run up to this person and they're like, "Hey, I've got a problem. Can you solve it real quick?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm gonna." It's like, I don't know. I'm gonna take these boxes of shit outside of your house, and then I'm gonna kick
Actual
your dad
shit?
into it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
yeah,
But
there's a side quest with a child that's all obsessed with poop, right?
yeah.
No, it's not. The child is the one like begging for your help because their father is like just refuses to bathe and relies on shit to coat his arrows and strike fear into his enemy's nostrils.
I would not want to be shot with a shit arrow. I don't want to be
Yeah.
shot with a regular arrow, but a shit arrow would be significantly worse than a regular arrow, I feel.
And so to like solve this, you have to like take the boxes of shit outside. You have to like light all like the methane gas on fire to like get rid of it. And then you have to knock the father into like a pond so he gets washed off.
Does Skrillex play when you light the shit boxes on fire?
No.
Do you ring the doorbell and run away?
No, there's no doorbell in 9th century England.
They don't have doorbells.
No one is inside that house because it is so rank. It is just, yeah. It's the stuff they wrote for this game is very strange, but there's a lot of like very bizarre stuff that just made me laugh in the side stuff. Like these two brothers fighting over like basically one did all like the farming and one sold it, and he's like, we're gonna do an 80-20 split, and because I sold it I'm gonna take 80%. And then you try and like help them, but they get into a fist fight, and then the way you resolve it and get them to stop fighting is just so over the top.
There's a side quest in Odyssey where a character who you have met at that point prior asks you to take a package to another character who's like a general in a fort, and you take it there, and he's like, make sure you tell him that it's for his wife. And then you take it there, and it turns out the package was a stone cast that this guy made of his penis.
Yep.
And then and he's like, make sure you tell him that it's for his wife and that it's from so and so, this other general. And so he wants them to start fighting because the note inside is like, this is for your wife in case she misses me. And then the guy like flips out and wants to go kill the other general. I just like, it's very funny the way they frame it. It's less gross than what it sounds like. It doesn't, it's not as toxic and like shitty as it sounds. It's just,
I mean, I would expect ancient, you know, Athenian or Spartan generals to be shitty and do stuff like that. You know, that's probably more creative than they got. But yeah, and then like as far as the actual story stuff goes, they've got like a lot more kind of open-ended stuff going than at least that I recall seeing in like Odyssey or Origins. There's like some aspects of like open-endedness, like, oh, I'm going to support the Athenians here, I'm going to support the Spartans here in Odyssey. But I just did a quest where it was like pretty long as like a story thing where I had to basically uncover a traitor in the midst of another faction and help them do that. And like, it was totally open-ended. I could find as many clues or as few clues as I wanted. I could name anyone basically at any time, like, oh, this person's the traitor. Whether I got it wrong or right didn't matter. It affects the story and like outcome, but like, you know, they give you a lot more options, and it's not as like directed as the previous games kind of were. And it seems pretty effective at that so far. I'm only like 15 hours in right now. But I'm really enjoying it. And they have reduced the loot a lot. You're not finding stuff like, you're not finding stuff every time you kill somebody. You're not like picking up their sword and be like, oh,
but it still has the loot systems.
Yeah, it has loot system, but it's like, that's
good then.
It's loot with a purpose.
Yeah, that's much better.
It is like everything is like, oh, I've got like the hunter's vambraces or like the bear vambraces or whatever, and it's not just like random armor.
Odyssey has an interesting problem that's like, once you start getting some legendary sets, it's like, well, I want to use these because they have cool set bonuses, and it's great, but you're still picking up like hundreds of pieces of shit gear, and then there's no like, if there was a button that just said anything that's not legendary, break it down for me for resources, great, but you have to manually go one by one and do it. So you're not going to break down anything in this game. And like everything there is like unique basically, and gotcha.
And you're basically just going, it's not like, oh, this one has like higher, you know, there's like heavy and light and medium and stuff, but there's no like, oh, this is like a level 100, so it's way better than the stuff I got at the beginning of the game. You're just upgrading it all, and so you can go, okay, I'm going to upgrade this one, and then I can like upgrade it, and then I can take it back to the blacksmith, upgrade it again. So there's
that's how it is.
Okay.
Because in Odyssey, it's sorry. It's in Odyssey, they get the gear has levels, so you can upgrade a gear perpetually and keep it at your level, but you also level all the time, so you're always and it's so expensive to upgrade gear.
And you're finding new gear at like higher levels. You're not doing that here. Like there's gear different, like they have different strengths, but you can upgrade all of it, and it's all viable for the whole game.
This kind of sounds more almost God of War-y, like not like
yes,
or like Soulsy almost to a degree.
Sure.
Whereas the loot in Odyssey is 100% Destiny. It is through and through. The only difference is you can equip as many legendary pieces as you want.
Yeah, like I have not changed my gear basically the entire time I've been playing so far, because I haven't found enough of like a set to like change into. Because of the like, you know, I want the bonuses, and I haven't found enough gear to get the bonuses, so I haven't changed.
That's good to hear because I like this in Odyssey. I think it's cool. I don't know if I want to do it again the next Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool if they did another loot game in the future, but I like that. I would get tired of it quick if every single Assassin's Creed game forever now was a loot game.
Immortals Phoenix Rising.
It's not a loot game.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was.
It sort of is. We'll talk more about it when I've played some more of it. I do plan to. That's a weird game in a lot of ways. That's an interesting game, but I only played like 20 minutes, so I don't
Stay tuned, dear listeners.
Yeah, Valhalla is good. I'm really interested to see where the meta narrative stuff goes.
It's cool that Sean's back because I love him. So
like I booted up, I was like, got to the meta narrative stuff. I was like, oh, but I know him. I haven't seen him in like 4 games or 5 games or whatever it is.
I forgot whether he was alive or not, to be honest with you.
He the last time I remember seeing him was like Black Flag.
He's in Unity.
I never played Unity.
Yeah, basically Unity's whole plot is about Otto Berg going to murder him and Vanessa, I want to say, in an apartment in Paris. And you're like trying to get information for them that will help them. And that's the reason you're in the Animus. And it's still framed as that, like you're an Abstergo employee going in the Animus for them. It's the meta narrative in Unity is really bad. Unity as a game, awesome, really good now that it's patched up and not a technical mess. It's got a super awesome in the Animus story, but the meta narrative stuff is not good in it.
Is there anything else? There was like the big thing that was supposed to be interesting was Eivor, your assassin character, not an assassin, your Viking character, is there's like something with the Animus and like DNA, and the Animus can't like make sense. It's like, is this supposed to be a man or a woman? And they give you a choice at the beginning to either choose, I want to be Lady Eivor, I want to be Man Eivor, or let the Animus decide based on whichever signal is stronger. And like, so you'll switch depending like different times in the story, but I have not seen in 15 hours, I've not seen that change yet. So I'm like, did I make a mistake?
Kind of
but
something.
I don't know.
I'm really interested to see that switching back and forth. I plan to play it that way. It would be jarring if it happened like all the time.
No,
so
yeah.
I'll be
but I figured, like basically it's like the very beginning of the game. I figured maybe like after the intro and like basically between Norway and England, maybe then it would switch, but it didn't. I don't know when it's supposed to switch or like what kind of things prompt that, but I'm interested to see what brings it on because I've done like a few story things, but I haven't gotten super deep. But that's like my next thing is story stuff. One thing that has annoyed me is like, so they've got the map divided into zones, and it'll be like, this one's like power level 20, and then you just you level up more, and your power level slowly increases every time you level up and put points in the skills. And then it's like, this one's power level 50, but you'll be in like the power level 20 area, and you go like, oh, here's like a little marker, I wonder what's over here, and it'll be like here's one of the guys from like the assassins thing, and you need to kill him for clues, but he's like power level 90 and he just like one hits you, and I'm like, why is he in a power level 20 zone?
That's kind of been a thing in Origins. There was the Falakate that chase you around, and they were always way over leveled for the zone. And then in Odyssey there were the mercenaries that at a certain point you end up being the same level as the mercenaries, but early on they can be a pain because of that. So that's that concept of like, I think that comes from, isn't it cool how people can invade your game in Souls games, but since they're not multiplayer, it's like, what if it was just a really hard NPC that you want to run away from?
And there's also like side quest stuff where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the side quest, and I just got one shot. Okay, I guess. Sure.
I like it because there's a problem. Origins had this problem more than Odyssey. I'm playing Odyssey on normal, but Origins I played most of on Nightmare, because on normal difficulty you just Swiss cheese people. There's no, I mean, you just slam the attack button and Bayek just rotates through 20 men, killing them all immediately. And Odyssey's a little better about that, but it's still kind of that happens a lot too.
I think my issue with it is there's no way to know that that's going to happen when you start like the mission, because you're like if, out in the world, like if you see the I can't remember what they're called, but like the night guys, you see those, you can see like, oh, that's power level 90. I don't want to mess with them. But there was like a thing where I had to like start a prompt, and basically it started a cutscene, and then it put me in a fight, and I was like, oh, this person is power level 90. There is no way for me to know that going into this.
Sure.
And nothing else in this area was like that. It's only this mission, which was annoying, but like it saved like right before, so it wasn't like, you know, I died and then I'm just reloading like, okay, well, I'll go somewhere else, I'll come back later. It's still marked on the map.
Yeah, at least you don't lose a ton of progress, like at the very least.
Yeah, it's pretty good about auto saving, and there's a quick save and stuff on PC. I don't know if there is on console, but maybe. I don't know. Those things can save faster now. Probably in next gen stuff, or the current gen, I guess. Whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Valhalla seems cool. I'm gonna keep playing it and just add it to my list of like RPGs that I've like started and not finished. I gotta get. I've got one more week of work, then I can go back to Wasteland and Yakuza and Cyberpunk. Oh God.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's good. Good games. But this why am I only playing long games this year? Anyway, yeah. So Alex, you are not playing any games, it sounds like.
No, I haven't really played many games in the past 2 weeks, which is, you know, always great for a video game focused podcast.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter because you started another podcast.
It's true. Get away from all you chuckle. No, I'm just joking. Any of you are welcome to join anytime. But I know it's probably not of huge interest to a lot of you. Which, yeah, we know. Coding Fyx, we talked about it last week. The first episode has gone up. And I've gotten some reception from it already, which has been pretty positive actually so far, which is really nice. And I've already started writing I've already had the second episode like half written, and I've kind of been finishing off writing the second one. It's because these are much more scripted than the podcast we do here. I used to take lots of notes for this podcast. I don't do that so much anymore.
This entire podcast is 100% scripted.
You're right. Yeah.
Totally.
Every moment we have planned out to a T. We're hitting our cues. We have all these hand signals.
Yeah, some people plan out their segues. That's we go entirely beyond. Every conversation is painstakingly crafted ahead of time to make sure it is of the utmost enjoyability.
Yeah, we go for maximum comedy points, and you know the best comedy is always when it is very scripted.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So gratefully, Coding Fyx has none of that. Just kidding. There's stupid comedy in there. There's a lot of the puns remain, but yeah. Anyways, no, the first episode is out. If you're listening to Gaming Fyx, you probably noticed that the first episode of Coding Fyx shows up on your feed. So sorry about that, but it should only be the first episode.
That's a great way to launch it, but I apologize that I've launched.
I'm sorry for inflicting another podcast on the world.
No, in case someone was like, "Oh, what is this bullshit? I don't want this," and then their podcast app automatically downloads it or something, like, you know. But yeah, it gets its own feed now. It is on iTunes. It is on Spotify and all your pod chaser. No, what are they called? The
Catchers.
Thank you. Yeah, it's on all those. Second episode will be fun. I'm doing it every 2 weeks, so that'll show up again in like a week and a half or something.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, we're getting a bunch of guests. We have lined up guests. One of them I'm really looking forward to is an all women podcast. Like I'll be there to kind of kick things off, but after that it's all them. And it's all about, you know, working in the tech industry as a woman and from different countries at different levels of employment in the coding industry. Like we have one person who's a junior programmer. They've been in it for like a year or two. Then some others that are senior that have been doing it for 5, 10, 15 years. So
Sounds super rad.
18 years. 18 years. Something I can't remember.
Getting okay. I don't know this reference.
I can't remember the lyrics to Gold Digger right now. It's late.
Oh, okay. I don't really know it that well.
Okay. Change it to Code Writer. 18 years. 18 years.
Sigh. What else you want to know about Andre?
The advent of code.
Yeah.
She coded one of your apps, got you for 18 years.
There we go. That's what. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Hell yeah.
That was bad and dumb.
No,
Thank you for that.
Good.
So, advent of code is almost game-like in a manner of speaking.
Just like Final Fantasy, like Kingdom Hearts spinoff.
Yeah, it's Advent Children, but you're just seeing the code like the Matrix. No, it's if you can go to adventofcode all one word.com. Well, adventofcode.com, not adventofcode all one word.com. That would be awkward. But it's essentially every day they have new coding challenges. And they're very contextualized, like they have little stories surrounding them, and they've been doing this for 5 years, so the story is almost ongoing, but it's like, oh, you're trying to save Christmas and you're working with the elves, and like, you've been doing this for a long time, now you want to go on vacation to like a desert island or something and just enjoy your time at Christmas time this year, but oh no, they messed up the passports and stuff like that. So basically it's giving you all these problems that are to be solved with code. Like, sure, you could solve it on your own, like with your brain, but like, you're not going to want to do that because it starts off by giving you some challenge, which they start off relatively simple. I hesitate to say relatively simple, but it's like they'll give you a list of numbers and then they'll say, okay, find the two numbers that are adjacent that add up to 2020. And then once you get that, multiply those two numbers together and give us that answer. Like, that's the first one. And sure, you could do that as a human with the example they give you, which has 5, or 5 or 6 or something. But once you get the actual one where it's like, okay, now give us your answer, it has like roughly 5,000 numbers. And you as a human are not going to want to do that because that'll take you hours. So you write code to do it, and you can use whatever language you want. All they care about is that you give the right answer. After I've been doing them, I've been looking at, like, they have a subreddit where people show the way they approached it, because there's like 100 different ways you could approach any of these and like dozens of languages. Some people are doing all of the challenges in Excel. And I'm just like, what kind of just insane person does like these sometimes really complicated challenges in Excel? It's like, what? I love it. It's super funny because like they show their code and it works. But yeah, so I'll say if you're a relatively new coder, it's tough. I would say the first 2 challenges are doable, and then after that it gets hard really fast. Like to the point where I was like, the 4th day, we're on the 5th day now, but on the 4th day, like I was like struggling a little bit, and I've been doing this for a long time. So I've talked with other coders who say like in previous years, they've basically dropped out on like day 15-ish, 15, 16, 17, like around there. So it's going to be fun to find the limit because that stuff gets hard. Anyways, it is gamified in some ways. You can join like leaderboards, like private leaderboards for groups of people, or companies you work at or whatever. I joined the Coding Blocks one. So if y'all remember Joe Zack, who we had on as guest for, what episode was it? The PS4 or PS5 reveal stuff, rather?
I think so. Yeah.
Cloudy with a Chance of PS5 or whatever the episode title was. Yeah. So his podcast, Coding Blocks, they have a leaderboard going on. So keeping up with them. So Advent of Code, it's cool. It burns your brain.
Nice. That sounds fun. And if I had been able to keep up with like coding and not had to work this year, like I didn't have to for like 3 months and was still getting paid earlier, that would have been great. And I could have learned to code and studied Japanese. But now I'm just like, I put like 2 hours into Japanese a day, and I don't want to study anymore or do anything else besides work. I don't want to even do that. I just want to, but this seems like a great, like interesting thing to check out and like doable. Like if I had stuck with it for like a couple months. I could, or like by the time I was at where I was at, I could have like probably done at least like the first challenge I looked at. So yeah, that seems
they're
neat.
cool. Yeah, and like you can go back and do them anytime. So if you decided in 6 months, let's give us a shot, you totally could. The only thing is you're missing out on the zeitgeist of like the leaderboard climb, which is it's fun, but like at the same time, there's competitive programmers that exist who they do this all the time and they immediately shoot to the top of every leaderboard. So it's like, well, okay, you just kind of have to ignore them.
Yeah,
but yeah, outside of Advent of Code, I did one other thing, which was it's actually very directly game related, but not in the way we think about. And I've been learning a new game engine, learning how to code in it, because speaking of coding blocks, they are doing a game jam in January. Are y'all familiar with game jams?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So for listeners who might not be, it's essentially you're giving a time limit to make a game. Say let's some game jams
for fun.
yeah, like some of them are crunching. Like you do have ones that
cool,
are like
though.
You have like the 24-hour like global game jam is a major one, and it's like, okay, within 24 hours we're going to give you a subject. It's going to be like I don't know, like resiliency.
Library books.
Yeah, library books, resiliency, or there's famously the Molly Jam, which takes the Molladoo Twitter account tweets, and it's like, oh yeah, make any game from any one of their tweets, and you have a certain amount of time to do it. So like I said, global game jam is 24 hours. You have 24 hours from the time of getting the thing to making a game that gets judged. Sometimes there's prizes involved, sometimes there's not. Other game jams, it's like 2 weeks. Double Fine has done their something Fortnite, I forget what they call it. They've been doing it for years, but
yes,
if they get 2 weeks to make a game, I'm gonna Double Fine Fortnite spelled the correct way because they spelled it Amnesia Fortnite. There we go. They've been doing that for years. But the coding blocks one is like over 3 or 4 days. I can't remember exactly, but so yeah, I'm going to be joining in on that one. I haven't programmed a game in like 5 or 6 years, and I already know Unity. Unity's great. I've dabbled in Epic fucking Unreal Engine. There we go. And I was like, all right, I want to learn something new for this game jam. So I'm learning one called Godot or Godot, or I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced, but
I've heard of that, yeah.
Godot, which is a relatively
I'm still
new...
waiting on that one.
Anyways, so yeah, I've been learning that. It's cool. I don't know if any major games have been made with the engine, but it's like an open source engine, and the community around it is extremely awesome. Like, I've been a part of some development communities where like the community can be kind of standoffish, or like if there's new people in there, they'll be like, oh, just go read the docs, like, yeah, don't ask us questions, like blah, blah, blah. But like Godot or whatever, they're just awesome. Like, they are very welcoming to new people. They are very much like, oh, if you're having trouble, reach out to me anytime. Like they want to foster this community, and like they're very supportive. They're like, someone made this very simple, boring game that like not boring, it's very simple, rudimentary game. Like, it's their first time ever making a game, so they want to make something like dead simple just to see if they can do it. And the community is like, holy shit, great job, like that's fucking awesome. Like, let's promote this to other people and say like, yeah, encourage this person to continue doing better. So like, that's the reason I got really interested in Godot. It's because of that small, really awesome community. And it's been fun. Like, I started by making a little kind of text adventure in there, just being like, okay, yeah, I can get this logic working. Then I made a little platformer with like programming AI and NPCs and like, gravity, and when you bounce off of things that hurt you, it makes you bounce and make sound and blah, blah, like all this kind of stuff, like just making some simple stuff. And my next plan is to make almost like a stealth game with like visions of like cone vision and stuff like that, where you can get detected, and light plays a factor and sound plays a factor, all that kind of stuff, just to kind of get my development legs back, I guess. And it's been nice. So I've been spending like 2, 3, 4 hours a night doing that. So it is game related and also coding related, but not playing games exactly. It's making games. So Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever put any of them out. They're not particularly great. Andre, you'll enjoy the fact that with the platform I made, if you die, it just brings up a big splash screen that says "Eat my ass," and then
Nice.
you click on a little bunny icon to try again.
Sick.
So.
You were a sick individual.
Thank you.
Someone should stop you.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, so Godot's cool. If you're interested in coding, do it. The language is very Python-like, so if you know Python, you can probably pick it up pretty fast. I know Python, but it's not my preferred language, but that's also a great way to kind of learn something you don't know or you don't like as much, is just to fucking do it. So anyways, yeah, Godot, game jams, coding. That's what I've been up to.
Sick. And with that, finally, we're finished with games. It only took us 2 hours. About 2 hours.
It's been a while.
Yep. It's been a while
since I've gone and made a fucking game. All right.
News, everybody. News. This week, Pat's not here, so we won't talk about that one yet. The Switch got an update, which finally lets you export screenshots to your phone without having to go through Twitter or like taking the SD card, like shutting your Switch all the way off and taking the SD card out. And
the Switch did this in an intuitive way, right?
Yeah, I mean, because they
got this phone app, right?
Yeah, if I ever wanted to use this, get a screenshot out of my Switch, before you had to go like make a tweet and then download it from the tweet and then probably delete the tweet because you're like, who cares about that screenshot? But yeah, no, they've made something way more intuitive.
Yeah, I mean, they've got this phone app where, connects to your account and all that shit, and they don't use it at all.
Yep.
In the most Nintendo-like solution.
Yep.
You have to the Switch creates its own Wi-Fi network, and you have to scan a QR code to connect to that. And then you can swap. You can move 10 pictures in one video, or 10 pictures or one video, I guess. And it's a Nintendo thing, so it barely works.
Better than getting screenshots off of a PlayStation.
That's fair.
And just stick a USB stick in. But
does that work?
I know
that doesn't work on a PS5 right now, by the way.
Pat, oh, really? Oh, well, Pat is also averse to USB drives.
Not really true.
I tried this Switch thing. Just to I took a picture in Paradise Killer because that's the one I keep trying to play, but it just never sticks for me. So yeah, I took a screenshot. I went to it. I was like, okay, let's do this. All right. I took the first QR code and it's like, yeah, we're going to connect you to this Wi-Fi. Then it pops up a second QR code. It's like, okay, now let's actually start the transfer process. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, I selected stuff. Let's start the transfer process. And then it just didn't work. Like you were saying, it just doesn't work. Yeah, it just didn't work. I tried it 5 different ways. It didn't work.
Just when I take a picture with my phone, I can have it in iCloud and get it on my PC in seconds. It's even better, although fuck Google in particular this week. It's even better with Google and Drive.
It's getting worse, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in Google Photos, which was just going away, I guess. I think that's right.
No, it's not. The free storage is going away.
Yeah.
Unless you use their filter thingy, which puts it through their algorithm and they store it on their side too. Those are still free.
But well, just get an iPhone because you can take pictures and it'll upload it to iCloud and it's fine.
Yeah.
They don't.
I can't buy the phone I want.
Yeah, I get it.
Because it's a tech product in 2020.
Yeah. But it blows my mind that I can't take a picture or take a screenshot on PlayStation and have it should just show up in the PlayStation app as hey, you want to pull this? Do you want to pull this photo?
Yeah,
you don't even have to
totally.
store it in the cloud. Don't even store it in the cloud. Leave it on my PlayStation. Show me a really low, a thumbnail that's really low quality, and then pull it over my network to my phone, or then upload it to a server and let me pull it down. It's just ridiculous that, I mean, if flash drives are working, they're not actually that big of a deal. I could go get one for $10, but it's ridiculous that to put a picture in a chat the best way to do that is either to message it to my partner and say, don't worry about this random message, which sometimes I don't want to then have to explain it to whoever I'm messaging, like why I'm grabbing this weird screenshot.
Like, it wouldn't be so bad if you could message yourself.
Yes, totally.
But it does not let you message yourself.
Or put a USB drive into the front of the PlayStation, load into the storage app, move the photo over, then walk over to my PC and plug the USB drive into my PC. It's all just like, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous you can't do it on Switch either, but this actually sounds like a bad solution, but still one that I wish that Sony would like try even something this bad, because it would still be better than what we got.
Yeah, that's very
if it's
fair.
working.
Let's see. Next up on our list, Pat is back, so now we can talk about Microsoft Flight Simulator getting VR support on December 23rd.
I think it's great because this game should have VR, but I mean, my PC, I have about a 4-year-old processor, which is not that old in the world of, I mean, it is, but it isn't. Processors should last you at least 5-ish years.
Yeah,
to play games with.
Processors are the most iterative of changes that we get in tech these days.
I have a video card from last year, and I struggle to run this game on the fairly high setting, like the one step down from the max in 1080p. So you would need like a $4,000 PC to run VR in this game. Like, you would need like a 3000 series GPU, I would think. And it is a very processor intensive game because of all the calculations, physics calculations it's doing. Yeah. So, you would want a pretty, and I mean, VR shouldn't affect that, but VR does hit CPUs because of the degree because of processing the head physics, is my understanding. Like when you're moving your head around, it's a little bit different than just a standard single point camera. So my understanding is that it does hit the CPU to do that. And then of course the biggest thing is it's rendering the game 2 times essentially. So I don't know who's going to be able to take advantage of this feature, but it sounds awesome.
Well, yeah, because the way VR works is it does render basically 2 of a scene. Because what it's doing is it's rendering, like if you think about your screen when you're looking at a game, it is rendering that once because you're looking at the one screen. But the way that VR works is that there's 2 screens, right? And they're considered 2 individual cameras looking at the same scene. So either you can have 2 camera elements, or you can basically re-render twice at a lower resolution or a lower fidelity, however you want to choose it. That's usually the way people go for. So yeah, that's in it. Yeah, the idea of running VR in that game is intense.
What I will say is, I said the same thing about Elite Dangerous when the Vive was first coming out, and it was true then. That game was a pretty intense game to run, just not in VR. So to run it in VR, when at the time I couldn't do it, but then after I upgraded my PC 4 years ago, basically built a new PC and stuck it in the same case, I was able to run it in VR, and it was extraordinarily cool. Like one of the coolest. It's the kind of thing where it's a big enough hassle, and I live with a partner, so I don't like to disappear into VR for hours and hours, but one of the coolest gaming experiences I think I have ever had is landing a ship in Elite Dangerous in one of the stations that you fly through the mail slot into in VR, because you're just looking around like, holy shit, I'm here. And because I had a HOTAS controller, it felt like I was in full control of the ship the whole time. And that was very cool. And I'm sure it'll be incredibly cool to do that in Flight Simulator in 4 or 5 years when the hardware to do it is a little more standard and affordable.
God, I can just imagine what Rami's going to do with this. If he tries to bring his full HOTAS setup on a plane and then also Rami, a VR headset.
If you don't follow Rami Ishmael on Twitter, 1, you're doing Twitter wrong, because Rami is one of the most delightful people to follow, in my opinion.
He's the main character of Twitter.
Yes, he in a good way.
That's you don't want to be that.
No, yeah. He is the like, yeah, he's a wonderful person.
Yeah.
But he in Europe currently it's a lot less dangerous to fly because people have been in treating in the places he's been flying to, people have been taking COVID more seriously. The numbers aren't as bad, so he's been able to do some trips to for work, and he did a flight where he took off. I can't remember where he departed from, but he flew to Amsterdam and he loaded the flight and managed to sync the flight up within 5 minutes of each other, and like was like live tweeting like, I'm flying in the game the flight that I'm doing in real life, and he said it was like 1-to-1 in terms of the like clouds and the landscape and stuff like that, which is so cool.
I think he even said that like he landed like 2 or 3 minutes earlier in the game than in real life, but like that it was that close.
Yeah, which is awesome.
That's really rad.
Neato. Next up, more neat news. Kadabra can be on Pokemon cards again.
Yeah, I saw this.
That statement from Yuri Geller where he was like, my Kadabra card can be a real, and you're like, it's not yours. It's only just couldn't make it because you
didn't like
You
the
were
spoons.
Yeah, because you're litigious, because you're just this is a way to get some money.
How long? So. It's been like 20 years that he's been like, no, you can't print that because that has a spoon.
That's stupid.
It's very stupid.
But yeah, in his statement, he specifically said, it's now all up to Nintendo to bring my Kadabra Pokemon card back. And you're
I didn't see that. That sucks.
And you're like, it's the only reason
they shouldn't do it.
just like fuck it. I don't know.
Fuck you. Forget it.
Have you all been following all this Pokemon card stuff?
No,
it's been
yes.
Make me. You
all
can't
of
make
the
me.
weird like.
Don't you can't
There's
make
nothing
this.
you can do.
It's
all
so
the weird, like,
weird.
Like
the YouTubers that are like getting the sealed
stuff.
boxes and just like paying like almost like $100,000 for like, it's nuts.
Oh, so
It's
wait,
like
they're paying a lot of
obscene.
money for packs and then opening them on YouTube? Is that the thing?
Oh yeah,
no,
like
they're
old
also like
packs.
sealed boxes too.
That makes
but
sense.
Then it's like fake. Some of them are
Yeah,
fake.
some of them have been
aren't real.
faked. It's like
This has been a
just
Magic the
nuts.
Gathering thing for like a decade, so it makes sense that it's hitting Pokemon. People they'll put on like the gloves that you wear to when they appraise comics and stuff, and like very carefully like they'll use like tiny scissors to carefully cut the pack open and take the cards out.
Yeah, like one of the people involved in like one of the most like notable sales and purchases has been very like angry to a lot of YouTubers who are like,
oh, it's because that guy's a
covering
scammer.
Yeah, well,
there's a whole thing.
Be careful because he could bring our podcast under fire if he heard that.
Yeah, we won't use his name, but there's a video for what's the channel?
Billy Mitchell.
Pay Money Wubby, whatever his channel is. He has a couple videos on that scam specifically. So.
Oh yeah, I think I watched the videos about it by the YouTuber Jarvis Johnson, and he got like, and posted some of the screen caps of the DMs of this person being like,
oh yeah,
like
same
like
with
basically like lying, and it's like very weird.
Same with the Wubby one. It's bizarre. Anyways, we don't have to actually talk about this.
It's so weird. But I've been definitely following that because
it's so strange.
That video was so weird.
In a similar vein, I don't have all the details, so I won't go on a tangent about it. But there was earlier, like a couple months ago, there was a thing in the 2K community where some like guy came in and started investing in players, and it turned out to be this huge scam. It seemed really interesting. If you're into the Pokemon cards thing, I would look up like NBA gambling scam or NBA 2K gambling scammer, because that was also fucking wild.
Yeah. That stuff is just bizarre. Anyways.
Yeah, no, it's been
at least
Kadabra's
back.
Yeah, but Kadabra's back, maybe.
Next, PAX 2021 dates, baby, in June.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have. There's not gonna be. They said they moved PAX East to June. It's not gonna be safe by then to go to a convention. Like,
Yeah.
if we're lucky, it'll be safe to like have lunch with your family outside, which it is not now, even though people are doing it.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, for one, that's like dangerously close to E3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
It's the
it's
week,
like
week
Yeah, it
like
goes
weekend
June 3rd
before.
to 6th. And
Which-
E3 will probably start on June 6th.
Which it's
No,
so.
it's E3 will start the following, like there'll be like a
Wednesday.
week, but there's the lead up, so there'll be like that, so there'll be like
Yeah.
E3 or PAX East will end, then there'll be like the week, and then that weekend will be like press conferences.
But
and
sometimes the
then
press conferences
Monday,
start like,
Friday.
Saturday. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Like,
yeah.
either way, like,
That's fine. They got a week then, whatever.
for one, PAX is always weird. They always go kind of butt to butt with some other conference. Like, it's usually GDC for PAX East.
Yeah.
Like, those two are usually like kitty quarter to each other.
AS
But
to AS.
AS to AS. But also, like, I understand why they have announced this. PAX is probably hurting because, you know, everything is hurting, especially anything that involves physically being together. But like, and they probably want to at least give some people optimism about the future of their business, but at the same time,
pop, whatever.
yeah. But yeah, at the
I
same
mean,
time,
you know, they probably have to do this so they can, if like they can't do it, then they can get like the insurance money, or, you know, get the,
Sure.
you know, they have
Yeah.
the spot and, you know, all that stuff. Like,
That's
I don't
very
know.
likely.
I don't know if there is insurance you can get right now to cover events.
or, you know, well, like they, like, you know, in the event that they can have it, then they can have it. But in the event that they can't have it, then they can at least, you know, they can get the money back and whatever. But yeah, it's questionable at best.
yeah.
I wish as a society, I think that this kind of stuff, unfortunately, I mean, I want people to have hope, because I do think you should be hopeful. I think that we're going to have vaccines and we're going to get through it, and it's going to be, you know, that we will subsist. But also, this just kind of, there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, well, if they think they can hold a PAX in June, I'm sure it's going to be fine by then. And it's like, we need to be realistic as a society about like the situation we're in. And I feel like it's just not happening for most people are just not taking seriously what's occurring right now. And it's bad.
Especially in the States, honestly.
Yeah, totally. I don't want to judge the rest of the world because it's not the same problem. But PAX is an American thing. I mean, they have PAXs in other, you know, Australia and stuff, of course, but it's not a good institution to be suggesting that. If anything, PAX could be a company that's like, hey, look, we want to make more robust remote events next year, and we want your help to do it, because let's be honest, it's probably not going to be safe. And we need to focus on getting this under control so that we can have another PAX the year later. And it's just, instead, they're just like, we're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, next up, last week we talked a bit about how the Xbox Series S has been great for emulating old games like RetroArch and stuff. And I asked, can I play Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi on it? And turns out I can, because PS2 emulation is up and running on the Xbox Series S.
Yeah.
There you go.
We talked about it a lot last week, so we don't have to say much right now. But
Yeah,
because that was the question. It was like, yeah, it's running RetroArch, it's running PSP emulation, and it's running PS1 emulation and N64 to an extent. And it's doing it really well, especially considering the price versus things like the NVIDIA Shield, which was the previous king for the price, that price bracket. And this thing is like just destroying the Shield for emulation. And yeah, now within the past week, PS2 games are up and running. Some of them apparently are pretty glitchy. Like, it's not 100% flawless, but it's like really, really, really close. So if you're interested in emulation, the Series S seems like a really, really great option.
yeah, that's so weird. It's like some people have been able to get games running without even like doing the developer stuff.
Oh, really? I hadn't seen that.
I don't exactly know what, like, but I think it might have been the PS2 stuff was running without developer access. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of the PlayStation 2, Metal Gear Solid movie snags Oscar Isaac as Snake.
That's such a good pick.
It is a good pick. Fuck the guy directing that movie, so I'm probably not gonna participate in.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he is not a good person. You can Google it yourself.
All right, I'll do that. I'll do that on my own time.
Yeah, he's a shithead, which is unfortunate because definitely Oscar Isaac as Snake is very good casting.
That casting
still
is very, very
no
good.
guarantee this movie's happening, but
Well,
it's
been announced
so long it's ever been.
It's been announced since like what 2009 or 8, somewhere around there.
If it's anything like if it's anything like Uncharted, in 10 years, it'll turn out that actually Oscar Isaac is going to play old Snake.
He's going to play Big Boss,
and Tom Holland is going to play Snake.
Oh my god!
Oh no. That's no. You know,
that's
Jack Black should be in the Metal Gear movie.
Now there's an Otacon casting that would be really off the wall, but potentially very funny.
That would be
okay, I agree. But what about Nick Cage?
I was just gonna say you could do Jack Black as like Fat Man.
Nick Cage is Revolver Ocelot. That is who.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Got it in one.
Who's riding? Who is angsty enough to be riding?
See, I think that's where you cast. I'm saying this semi as in jest. This is the shitty way Hollywood would do it. I don't think this is good, but that is where you cast the one Asian character in the entire movie.
Yeah, probably
as Raiden, and it's like a martial arts film actor or something.
You get like Tony Jaa or something.
Yeah.
Do his naked cartwheels.
I mean, at least this is not a Ghost in the Shell situation. This is the characters in Metal Gear are
who's Liquid,
not Japanese.
Jack Black is Liquid Snake.
God, I could see like
is it going to be a Jack Black plays all the characters situation?
Oh, what's his name?
Yes,
I should watch Be Kind Rewind this weekend.
Oh, what's the dude? Everyone loves him. He's great on Twitter. He was in Sin City. He was in Pacific Rim. Big dude.
Idris Elba?
No, white guy.
Bruce Willis.
No, not Bruce Willis. Oh, I can't remember his name right now. I'll look
Elijah
it up and
Wood.
get back to you.
Elijah Wood would be very funny Liquid Snake.
He was Hellboy.
Liquid.
Oh, Ron Perlman.
Yeah, Ron Perlman. Thank you, him. Oh, maybe he wasn't in Sin City.
He'd be like,
Ron Perlman could be a good Big Boss.
A Big Boss, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
No, but really, Jack Black is Fat Man, just doing like the roller skate.
He was in Pacific Rim. He was great in it.
No, I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, who's that guy? Okay.
Yeah. Anyways.
Who would play Roy Campbell? Oh, this is fun. I want to cast this movie. I just want a game about casting the Metal Gear Solid movie. Campbell is the Colonel.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I forgot that was his name. Fuck. That's a good
Danny
question.
DeVito.
Well, Danny DeVito or Joe Pesci.
Can we just cast this entire movie with Danny DeVito, Jack Black, and Nicolas Cage, and just have it be?
It's just an episode of It's Always Sunny.
The gang,
oh yeah, then you get Charlie. What's his name? Charlie.
The gang makes genome soldiers.
Charlie Day, so you get another Pacific
Charlie Day.
Rim?
Thank you. Exactly.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that the name of the episode would be "The Gang Commits War Crimes."
The gang makes love bloom on a battlefield. Okay, that's we'll see if that comes
Who's
out.
Sniper Wolf? Man, there's a lot of good casting.
Well, wait,
Charlie
who's our
Theron should be Sniper Wolf. There we go. Done.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Who's quiet?
Speaking of video game movies, Monster Hunter movie came out in China and is now being like places are being told you can't show this movie anymore by the
Yeah,
government.
it's actually been pulled in a lot of places as of today.
They are apparently able to start showing the movie again when a certain joke is removed from the cut, which is apparently like xenophobic and racist towards Chinese folks. I'm not aware of exactly what the joke is.
Yeah,
but,
I can give context on that if we want.
Okay.
I had a really long conversation with a friend of mine
this
about
is bad.
this. Yeah, so
This
I
is
had
extremely offensive.
I'll get into it.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a good friend of mine who is super into Monster Hunter. Like, she's played every Monster Hunter. She adores it. And B, she's Chinese. So like, she is the target demographic for exactly what's going on here. And like, she sent me this clip the other day from the movie, which I'll just quote it because that's what's in the movie, where it's the quote, "Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees, look at these," which in itself is quite racist as just like a thing, but also the way they translated it into Chinese is very, very, very terrible, because they have this phrase, this turn of phrase, like, you know how a lot of Chinese they use their characters to tell stories that everyone just kind of knows. Like, they make reference to old stories, like even like Sun Wukong stories. It's like a 3-character thing. It's like, oh, everyone knows this reference, so it's a metaphor that we all understand. And the translation that shows underneath this is one that references a story, basically, and sorry if I get any of this wrong, I do not speak Mandarin and I'm also not Chinese, but it's essentially talking about like the kind of respect that you pay to an emperor. Or like, it's basically you're putting your knee down on like something golden, and that like it is a sign of respect. And the knee in this context is like, it's a very symbolic, like, this is how much respect I pay to this person who is like really important, and it, like, you know, that kind of thing. And they use that in the translation all around this joke that's kind of being racist towards Asian people.
And it doesn't appear, maybe there's a longer clip, it doesn't appear that it actually says that racist rhyme. The direct quote from the clip that I just saw was, "What kind of knees are these, Chinese?" Which is offensive even without being tied to the joke, in my opinion. But then, because that racist joke exists, it's not a far leap to assume that that's the intent, is to make reference to it.
Yeah, and I was talking with the same friend, and she's talking about like, yeah, it sounds like I don't know, I'm not familiar with that particular playground rhyme, but it's the kind of rhyme where white kids would say it and start pulling their eyelids up. Like, frankly,
absolutely.
Like that's exactly what she said. And
I've heard
it's
it
like,
before. Yeah.
And she said like that actually really pissed her off. And she's a very
racist.
calm person. So like, yeah, I think you can be critical of the things that Chinese media tends to censor. I think this one is very valid for them to be pissed about.
Yeah, I think it's valid to be pissed about. I don't, you know, I don't believe in, I wouldn't, not like, yeah, pull it from theaters. I think I would encourage people not to give them money and to not go see it. But it doesn't matter. I'm not, whatever.
It's really just wild that would make it into a movie where they're like, we're going to show this in China first.
Yeah.
And these types of movies do like make most of their money in China. And
regardless of what your feelings on censorship are, you know that it's a country where that occurs.
Yeah.
And like, you have to know that going in. And so it's shocking to me that they wouldn't, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if they had cut that scene and then it shows up in the Western cuts of the movie, which would have sucked as well. And this movie just seems like dog shit, basically, to me.
Yeah. I watched some clips.
Seems
to call back
rancid.
To call back to what we were talking about before, I watched some of the clips with Muscular Chef, and they look bad.
It looks like a terrible movie. Yeah. Like not fun bad, not like ha ha ha, it's a shitty video game movie. I mean, it looks like it shouldn't have been made, basically. Yeah. So I think it's I in some ways I'm disappointed in Capcom by association that this movie exists.
Yeah, Capcom has had to also do a lot of PR work surrounding all of this.
Course.
Of course. Like, how could you let this in? Blah, blah, blah.
We didn't make the movie. We'll contact the people.
And apparently they didn't watch it first either, which
seems very weird. Considering,
like, if they made a Gaming Fyx, if somebody wanted to make a Gaming Fyx movie everyone on this podcast would watch it before it went to theaters. I can't believe that.
If you would like to make a Gaming Fyx movie, please reach out to us at gaming@fyx.space and we can get started.
It's pretty cheap compared to Monster Hunter as a license, I think.
But yeah, all this to say,
Compared to Monster Hunter, pretty cheap.
Like $6 million.
but yeah, the all that stuff was really profoundly shitty. So
I in some ways, I just want this movie to disappear from the conversation sphere, so that in 10 years people go, oh yeah, that terrible Monster Hunter movie that nobody watched.
Yeah, or like, oh yeah, that was a thing, huh? You know.
yeah,
Next news story. 3060 Ti, a new NVIDIA card, got announced and then launched within a day.
This was weird because I opened the GeForce Experience to download new drivers because I got a notification that there were new drivers. And I saw this ad pop up and I was like, I did just buy a 2070 Super, but a 3060 Ti is like exactly the thing for me, because it's like, I want to play at most at 1440p. Most of the time, just 1080p. I might get a 1440p monitor. I don't know. I was like, I bet this is a huge value. I bet the price to performance of my resolution is off the charts. Maybe it would be worth picking up this card. I can give a list of my 2070 Super. And then I clicked the link and it was like, and it's out and it's gone.
yeah, it was ridiculous. It was so weird.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It sounds like it's all right.
Yeah,
Sounds fine.
it sounds like a
good.
great card.
But classic 2020,
but you
can't get it. Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't pining for it, so it's fine. I mean,
You got
just means that I'll wait.
anyway.
It would have been stupid to impulse purchase a $450 video card, so I'll just wait until later next year and get the card I really want. But yeah, it's silly.
Laid Back Camp virtual Lake Motosu and Fumoto campsite announced for PS4, Switch, PC, iOS, Android. What?
So
I'm gonna go on a limb before we go into this.
Before you get into the bullet point there, but go for it, Pat.
I'm gonna say on a limb, no other podcast on the internet has brought this subject up this week.
So I love Laid Back Camp. I originally saw this news. I was like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. But the thing that made me write it down in here is the bullet point. First, if you don't know Laid Back Camp, we've talked about it on this cast. It's an extremely, I recommend it to anyone ever. Like, it's absolutely exceptional. Fantastic show and very relaxing. But so it's announced for PS4, Switch, PC, iOS, and Android. The thing is, it's a VR game. So it works with PSVR, HTC Vive, and the Rift, and also the Nintendo Labo Toy-Con 04:VR kit. That's the first third-party game I've heard of that really showcases it. Yeah.
The Labo Toy-Con VR, yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious to me. That's really the only reason I brought it on here, but it sounds delightful because Laid Back Camp.
Yeah, it sounds like
wonderful.
Looking it up, it sounds like the game doesn't require VR, but having that as a functionality on the Switch version is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I will probably end up trying it just because I care about that series, but I don't have a Labo, so I can't experience it as it was meant to be played.
At least Labo is a more reasonable from a cost perspective.
Yeah.
Way, if you have a Switch already, to check it out without having to buy a VR headset.
Yeah, and I imagine the Google Cardboard situation probably works with it too, because it is on Android.
Yeah, because it's on mobile. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, watch Laid Back Camp. I think it's actually good. That's probably a really good quarantine show.
Yeah, it looks like you can get the VR kit starter set plus blaster on Amazon, which you should probably support other stores before you support Amazon. But as a
it's a point of reference.
Its cost, point of reference, yeah, it's $45.
Hey, you get a second. A second piece of cardboard to make stuff with.
Yeah, so it's
Well, wait, doesn't Nintendo allow you to print the designs for all of these just off their website? So couldn't you just print your own Nintendo Labo Toy-Con 04 VR kit?
The thing that would make me know.
Don't you need the Labo software? Maybe you don't.
I don't know if you would for this though, because it's not Labo software; it's a third-party game.
It's like if there's separate lenses in that kit, which it looks like there is.
Yeah,
if there are, okay,
yeah.
then sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those things too where I think like I did the Labo variety kit, and it's definitely fun to put together. So I mean, if you wanted to give it a shot and then hey have the cheap VR for a laid back camp, then you know
specifically for laid back
camp. Yeah, that's could be worse, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We got 2 more stories here. I don't know. I actually don't know what the last one is about, but Casey Hudson, I missed that. So I look forward to being enlightened. Casey Hudson and Mark Darrah are leaving, have left, or resigning from Bioware.
Yeah, years ago, right? And then they came back.
They came back, and
and then they left again, and they came back again.
They're leaving again.
Oh yeah, wow. I think that there must be some kind of like secret passage installed between their homes and the Bioware offices, so that.
I mean, well, now their home is the Bioware office, or it was, but now it's not anymore.
Right.
I got it.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
For one, like I think the Twitter etc. response to this was pretty obvious. It's like, oh, this means Bioware's in trouble. Oh, blah blah blah. And it's like there are 2 people. They're big stews. I also don't think. I think Bioware has been in trouble for a long time, and I don't think these 2 particular people leaving changes that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they are definitely 2 really key people with Bioware properties. So it's like
Casey Hudson has been the face and the since he's been back.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Once he replaced Aaron Flynn.
And then Mark Darrah is
that.
like very big for Dragon Age, but it's like, but at the same time, like, I don't think that 2 people are enough to like turn the tides of Bioware and turns the tides of like EA putting resources into Bioware and
like improve or like sink any of the projects.
Yeah.
But
and I mean, if you look at the head writer on Inquisition was not Mark Darrah. The head artist was not Mark Darrah. I mean, like, no respect to the guy. I don't have anything against Mark Darrah or Casey Hudson. They seem like, okay dudes from what I have gleaned. But
yeah,
I mean, they've seemed like figureheads there for a long time to me. So
right.
I don't know that I think it will have any impact on the projects that are coming.
Probably
right. And it's like it might be a little bit of a setback, especially since Mark Darrah is like the lead writer of Dragon Age, and if they're making another Dragon Age game, people like him, but at the same time, it's like I don't think it's going to necessarily be make or break for it. The only thing that was kind of great though,
oh my God,
not great, was that the actor who plays Cullen in Dragon Age,
Greg
Ellis, was went on weird rants about cancel culture, and he like did it in character, which is buck wild.
Well, before that, he was shit talking Darrah, like he was.
Yeah. No, he was, and then he literally it was like a day after Mark Darrah left. He's just like, no, I'm immediately being like, do you seriously think what are you doing here?
Basically, Mark Darrah like flung in from the rafters with the steel chair.
Yeah, I saw people say that comparison where it's just like slamming
into Greg Ellis, being like, you know what, fuck you. You probably shouldn't be on any more of these games.
The first tweet is, hey there, Greg. I've been letting you slide for a while, but I think Dragon Age Day is maybe the day when that ends, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah, because yesterday was also Dragon Age Day.
Yeah,
and the guy he's also like a Jordan Peterson fan and shit. Like he's a shitty person. It makes me
so mad because Cullen is I like Cullen a lot as a character.
I thought we knew this about him for a long time.
Oh yeah, we did. It's been known that he's a shithead.
But
yeah.
I hadn't seen that, but apparently this was like the breaking point, and he's no longer with BioWare, so he can straight up be like, yeah, you suck. But I think the thing that was making it go kind of not quite viral, but people were talking about it, was that he was specifically made a video where he's ranting about cancel culture in character as Cullen, which they're like, you don't own that character. Yeah, you don't own that character, nor do you have the rights to use that character?
Yeah,
You
I
were
mean-
just the voice actor. Like,
Yeah, like the Fire Emblem voice actors, especially the English actors, very specifically do not do those voices on stream because those are IPs owned by Nintendo. So like
yeah, and they're very like a lot of them are very from what from who I follow are very like proud of the work that they've done, which they should be, and they are clearly love the characters, but they're specifically like careful to recognize, hey, I played this character, I love this character, but also like I don't own the rights to this character. And here Greg Ellis is specifically being like, hey, I am specifically Cullen, and
No, but you see, cancel culture is the reason that all these people get in trouble and they can't do the voices. So by attacking cancel culture, he's safe, right? That's
I just kind of assume that if any white dude acting is probably a jackass until I see some evidence that they're not a jackass.
you know who's not a jackass? Is fucking Troy Baker. He's rad.
No,
Oh wait, no, is he not? Last I heard, he was rad.
I think he's a nice guy. I mean, he's problematic.
He's
also
not
does
like,
things
yeah,
like I am Joel, and
I
this is
am
my
the man in the
our
arena.
masterpiece. Yeah, that stuff. The man in the arena stuff was like,
Okay, that stuff is
oh,
dumb,
shut
yeah.
yourself, buddy.
Shut
You're a very
Okay.
good voice actor. Joel's a very good character.
How about
Shut
this?
up.
Sungwon.
Yes, he's also not a white dude.
Oh yeah, you're right. Fuck. You're right. I forgot about that variable.
They exist. Colin Mockery is a really good.
Oh my god,
Dude.
Colin Mockery.
oh,
He's a white dude. He's an actor.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, they exist.
Anyways,
There's exceptions, but if you go and expecting it, then you're not disappointed. When
Dozens of us.
yes, exactly.
Jack Black was trending on Twitter just
Jack
because
Black
we all dig him. We all think he's a good.
I love the
cool
man.
dude.
His YouTube channel, I've watched like only a little
gotta
bit,
get
but
on
it's
that,
so like he has a
very
PS5 versus
silly.
Xbox video where he's like
Didn't he specifically make that channel just because he's like, I don't know, my kid said I should, so
He was bored.
Well, now it's like
bored. Yeah.
excessive YouTube. Like he does the YouTube thing so well, and he has a video where he's playing Miles Morales,
It's
which
just
is
over edited in the best ways.
oh yeah.
I think I might enjoy it from him. I hate that stuff when it's like, I mean, I don't like Conan O'Brien for a variety of reasons, but I don't think he's like a. See, it's fine. He's fine. I don't particularly like his style, but I don't like his video game stuff because it's like we shot an hour of footage and then edited it into 3 minutes of gameplay of me playing a game, and I think that stuff is like I don't really like it when Jesus and Mero did it either. I want to see Jack Black sit and play a game for an hour, like Giant Bomb stuff.
Yeah, that is not what his videos are. He does like a lot more like vlog stuff, and then like that stuff is cut in. Like Tony Hawk and Steve-O challenged him to make like a 8x10, like 1,000 8x10s of like a skate photo.
That's funny. I'm sure.
And so like it's like him making that, like, you know, making that skate photo, and then also judging like the, you know, comparing the PS5 and the Xbox, and you know, and just being very over the top.
So yeah, Google, fucking Colin Mockery and Jack Black kick ass. Casey Hudson and Mark Darrah. See you later. But hopefully they move on to cooler things than current Bioware.
Hopefully they move on to less stressful things than current Bioware. I wouldn't want to work at Bioware right now.
Yeah,
with respect and love to the people that are working at Bioware.
Know where I would never work, Pat.
Is it Google?
Yeah.
What did they do this time?
This is well outside.
Yeah,
of
I saw
the
that.
game
I saw
space,
that, and I'm like, what else is new? Honestly,
it's well outside of the game space, but it's also so fucking bad.
It's the tech space though, so we're still kind of in there.
Yeah, but I think it's worth
Google is a game company now.
It's true.
Yeah,
they have Stadia.
So they had.
I guess Alphabet is a game company.
There's a researcher at Google, Timnit Gebru.
Is that what you were talking about? There's a step before this though.
Sure. Okay.
So the step before is that Google started implementing this policy where they basically don't want any of their workers to unionize, so they monitor
Oh, yeah.
all of their communications, be it via text messages, emails, even in some cases using employees like Android phones to record their conversations in physical meeting places. Like, it's very fucked up. And if there's any talk of things like unionization, if there's any talks of, things against the interests of Google, then they will fire these employees.
Which is illegal.
Which is illegal.
But no one enforces that, so...
Yeah, so that's kind of the setup for the story that really, like, A, fuck Google for that, but now quadruple fuck Google for what happened.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out, not to any lessen the fucks to Google, but Amazon does the exact same thing. It's pretty common at major corporations. If mostly for our international listeners, most major corporations have entire, usually they're kind of clandestine units because it is illegal within their companies to bust unions and make sure that nobody is talking about unionization through company channels. I think because of Google, the nature of Google's business, they have a lot more tools to use in a lot scummier ways to do that. But unfortunately, it is a fact of doing business in major corporations here, and is part of why United States brand of capitalism is probably the thing that'll cause the world to end, at least for us here. Anyway, there was also a researcher who's one of the few Black women in a prominent position,
Dr.
within this field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's great.
And yes, she did some really fantastic and interesting research on bias in AI programming and the ways in which an AI might basically become shitty and the dangers of using AI to do things like read and translate and stuff like that.
Should be noted, she's, when at Google, was one of the managers of some of the AI programs, because she's a very, very heavy hitter in the AI sphere. Like, and
ethics in particular.
And ethics in AI. She's very well respected in that community.
Yeah. And so she and several other researchers at Google had planned to publish and present a paper next year at a conference, and Google basically said, nope, we're not going to publish that because it makes us look bad.
Yeah, they had sent, there was a chain, or basically a group that they worked with called the Women and Allies group within Google, and I think some external to Google as well. And she'd sent an email to that chain of people basically saying, like, that in that particular email, she was criticizing Google for their, like, kind of attempts at diversity and inclusion, and saying that, like, a lot of what they were doing was hollow, and specifically targeting, like, Google as a company and how their hiring policies and just their general public image versus what is actually happening internally. And basically Google said, yep, we have accepted her resignation. And she's like, okay, I kind of got forced into this resignation.
Yeah. And then they immediately terminated her and claimed that her behavior wasn't befitting a Google manager, and they decided they didn't want to publish the paper because it left certain research out that, like, and it was just a lie.
Yeah,
it just wasn't true.
Basically, it was research censorship because it was not meeting the Google like demands of what they wanted to show. They said, no, we're just not going to publish it because this doesn't show this, like, the angle that we want to show. Like, it's really fucked up. It's extremely terrible.
And it's should be terrifying to people that this company is building AI to run the internet, basically. Because they clearly have no, I mean, this is like literally the setup to a apocalyptic, AI robot uprising kind of movie.
Yeah, don't be evil, etc. But
me,
either way, for me,
they took that out of their mission statement.
It's still
the biggest of red flags.
It's still technically in there. People will make that argument, but it's like in the middle of a paragraph and doesn't count. But anyways, all of this to say, I have really in earnest started de-Googling my life because just seriously, fuck Google.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
On that cheery note.
Speaking of pretty bad, Stadia.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, my biggest concern with Stadia when it was announced was, I don't think Google is a particularly ethical company when it comes to how they manage their AI projects. So I wouldn't want to give them my play data because, I don't like the idea of them knowing how cognitively I respond to problems. I don't think that Stadia is anywhere near solving any of that stuff and creating useful data for them. So
no.
Yeah.
that part of Stadia, I'm less worried about, at least.
I specifically took their free Stadia kit and I have not used it with Stadia, nor do I plan to. So
You got a free Chromecast out of it, really.
I got a free Chromecast, and also I've been using the controller, which is not a bad controller. So
You'll be able to use the Chromecast for a year until they push a firmware update that makes it not work with your television.
yeah, well, there's that. But
Which is what happened to me.
I mostly use Roku anyways. So
Why would that?
I don't know,
Why
man.
would that? What? Okay, well,
Technically it works, but the audio won't play. It won't
What?
play.
what?
No. Yep.
What even?
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, now what you need is a Chromecast audio or whatever.
Nope. I, in fact, will never purchase another Google product.
Yeah, I'm pretty much there too.
I will not be buying a physical Google product in the future.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode 150 of the Gaming Fyx podcast on October. Oh God!
Fuck.
What if it was only
You
October?
Sent a rattle through my body. That was
Me
like,
too.
that
That
sounds
was
so awful.
I didn't question it either. I was like, oh yeah. Oh wait.
well, the world hasn't changed that much since October, so
December. Hey, we've got a small glimmer of, we've had some good times in the last month.
had some fun.
We had some fun in the last month. But yeah, no. Episode 150 on December 5th, 2020.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. 4 weeks to 3 weeks till Christmas. How do weeks work? 3 weeks till Christmas. Just less than. Woo. And if you're, I don't know when Hanukkah is. It's not a thing in Japan, so I've got zero context for what's going on. But
I don't believe it's on the same day every year.
No, but maybe it's happening now. I don't know.
It goes this year. It goes from Thursday, December 10th, to Friday, December 18th.
Oh wow! Hey,
5 days until Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah to our Jewish
Hanukkah.
listeners, and
Hanukkah will have started before the next episode, so definitely.
yeah, Kwanzaa, solstice, whatever you celebrate. Have a nice
Walpurgisnacht guy.
have a nice holiday, and you can follow the podcast on Twitter at Fyx Podcasts, where you can see pictures of Frank the cat.
I look forward to that. I every time I look at Twitter, I have to check to see if we have any fleets.
The only
and I
good
look at it
fleets.
and it makes me so happy.
I've still never seen a fleet because I refuse to install the app. So
I don't even look at fleets.
I literally the only ones I look at are for the podcast because it's Frank.
It's 100% cats. Like I don't think we're ever gonna post anything else.
It is literally
Cat's all
all
the way
Frank,
down.
and it's almost always captioned cat, and I love it so much. It makes me so happy.
I'll do one right now.
If you'd like
Yay.
to send send us a question or a thought, you can send that to gaming@fyx.space, or you can tweet us once again at Fyx Podcast on Twitter. You can find me, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite, the Game Awards host or presenter.
Presenter.
The host is Keeley. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Pat, where can people find you?
you can find me on Twitter at PJC Plays, and you can also check out the archive that'll be up for however long Twitch is keeping archives these days of friend of the show Jeff Davis and I playing some Phasmophobia last night.
Assuming they don't
we had a lot of
like
fun.
assuming they don't like take the door shutting sound and say
Yeah,
this is DMC, this is DMCA-able.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, we did sing at multiple points, so maybe they will DMCA us based on the singing. I'm not sure. But yeah, we're going to try to do that. I'm going to try to join Jeff for more Phasmophobia streams because it is a delight. So.
You know, I might try and do that in the future if I can get free. But
their Twitch channel is the same as their Twitter, which is twitch.tv/stranger peace as in PEACE. So
not like smashed peas.
No. Or
stranger peas.
Piece of that.
Bass.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Allison, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY.
And Alex.
I just put a fleet of my cat up on our Twitter, and also
hell yes.
I just sent a link.
Yes.
What the heck? I don't know. Should we talk about this for like 20 seconds? Look at this link I just sent to our chat. NZXT. They make computer cases and components, and they make pre-built computers. Making a tweet with a clown face saying, "Oh, people who play on a pre-built console." What the fuck? What is that? That's the worst take I've seen.
I don't know, man.
In a long time.
Oh, that's a good fleet you just sent. Thank you.
Yeah, let's go back to that. That's a cute kitty cat.
Someone, wait, don't you sell pre-builds? We sell pre-configured custom computers.
Isn't that what a console?
The disappointing thing, I think the disappointing, as God, my angle on the world has started to become, I expect a company to be a piece of shit on Twitter. What makes me more disappointed is that they have not been ratioed into the ground. So get on that, everybody.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, look at our fleets because there's kitty cats. Don't go to NZXT apparently. He's very fluffy.
Frank is such a cute cat.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.